What's up, everybody? Project Manga is back with episode 14, the season finale of the Special Grade Podcast. I'm your host, Nickums.
What up, y'all? It's Kiko.
Noxie.
And as y'all know, we cover Jigokuraku, Undead Unluck, Kaiju number 8, and Phantom Seer on this show. Check out the video description below for timestamps so you can skip spoilers of series you are not yet current in. And before we begin, just want to say a huge thank you to all of our patrons, all y'all who are subscribed to this level of content. We really, really appreciate it, and y'all are just making this year like the best year ever, you know what I mean? Like,
thank you guys.
Really appreciate it. We love you. And one more reminder for everyone, your subscription includes a special Discord role for you to access the special grade chat in the Discord. So link your Patreon account to your Discord account, and then you can come chat with us in a more intimate setting, a little exclusive Cool Kids Club, and we can talk about all this shit we're going to talk about tonight, right?
Yes.
So, getting into the chapters tonight, I am so excited because these chapters this week were incredible. Like, what did y'all think?
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's kind of like we were saying, because so I don't know if Kaiju number 8, so like, does Jump Plus and like all that stuff follow the same kind of like reset? Like does it follow the same like issue number 51, issue number 52?
I don't know.
I'm not sure for Kaiju number 8.
So.
Yeah, but either way, Kaiju number 8 just came out with a new chapter today. Mm-hmm. So like, is that a part of, issue 52? I wonder. I'm not sure. But like we've been saying, it feels like all of these chapters have been like, moving towards a specific conclusion for the year inside of their respective stories, not just like for their arcs or for whatever, but just specifically for up to issue 52. It seems like things have been moving towards a crescendo in that way, and we're seeing it on the other side of Jump here too, because all of these chapters are just the same kind of quality, I feel like, as the other half of Jump from our main show. So
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I'm super stoked to get in here. So shall we get started?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
All right, so let's get started with Phantom Seer, chapter 14, Tsumuji Komachi. And we have a little scene of, it's 1 week after the battle with Senju Doji, and now we get some high school love drama, huh?
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. So
I love this. I love the cover page.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Did y'all see Kenma and Yojiro in the back?
Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's pretty
They're
cool.
like walking away. And
I did not notice that. And it's like, God, it's like there's only 2 other people in the panel. Just look deeper into them. Like, just look at those people.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Iori should have sent her back. Hey, go ask about your new ability, because I'm not going to tell you. Because we're bitches. We don't tell people how to get better in life. Sorry.
And I love like Iori's like he's like blushing as he's eating his melon pan or whatever.
Yeah,
he's like,
looks so like. I love when characters like are obsessed with certain like foods.
Yeah.
Like mash and the cream puffs and shit.
One of the funniest things that I always loved about Bleach was like the drink, like Renji couldn't drink coffee is the first time there, and he's like, oh, it's hot, and it's spitting it out, and Rukia's like, you can't even drink coffee. What a kid. Like, I mastered that drink a long time ago. Because she couldn't drink the fucking like fruit boxes, like the fruit punch box or whatever, because she couldn't figure out how to stab her fucking straw. So like every drink she had to master. I always loved that kind of thing too. That's hilarious. But yeah, so how about Senju Doji's like Orochimaru here? She's jumping from body to body, and
Seems
transferring to probably beckoning hands only, I would assume.
I would assume so.
She did have an interest in Aibetsu's capabilities too. Like, okay, wait till I get this new body. I'm about to see if I can get something like that. Maybe get your shit. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's kind of like what I felt from it.
And Yayoi mentioned like maybe Senju Doji has found like a better way to like fuse with humans, and maybe that better way is by using beckoning hands in some specific way. But generally, definitely she's after beckoning hands.
Yeah. I really like the. I mean, it's cool to have like female parallels to Orochimaru and Sasuke, right? Like, because that's kind of what it feels like, right? Like, Aibetsu is like, top tier fucking potential beckoning hand, clearly a good vessel, what looks like for Senju Doji, and it's like, yeah, just kind of cool to have that little, parallel there. And I hope that going forward, like Aibetsu, like it would be cool to see like her, develop. Obviously, she's going to develop her like disintegration barrier and just her barrier techniques in general, but just to the point where it's like more offensive, that she's actually going to like really participate in the battle more than just like support. Like I don't want her to fall back into like an Orihime role. Yeah, and so like I'm excited to see. I'm pretty confident it'll go that way. I mean, it seems like that. Like with what we have, like talking about, like we know now that her barrier techniques, like or her technique, like has different uses. Like she can definitely like maybe turn down like the disintegration part of it to boost the defense, or like something along those lines.
Man, if we see tweaks like that inside of her abilities, that's gonna be sick.
Well, then she could make one fine point that's like a piercing. It's a shield, but it's a piercing disintegration beam. Concentrate her barrier into a beam. That'd be pretty fucking sick.
I love that. Flaming laser sword.
So I had a question for y'all about Aibetsu's ability. Like when Aibetsu and Iori are like he's like joking with her, right? Like, oh, it doesn't really matter. You got your disintegration barrier. Everything is just going to work out fine, right? Did you all get the impression that they're kind of downplaying the barrier a little bit? Like to compensate for how jarring it was that she like trained and learned it, and we're all like, oh my God, what's happening? Why is she growing so fast? And now he's kind of like, yeah, it's cool you have that ability. It's not that big a deal. You can just go ask Kenma about it. I don't really care that much. And now she's like, she's not wearing the ring anymore. And she's like, now she's like back to training daily, right? So like, I feel like they're kind of reining it back. Like that was like one off. Maybe that ring was actually like a huge power boost ring that you can't really use very often because it's like too much. But she could use it for like that battles.
So you think that's like you think that's like an IRL like metatextual, like, you know what I mean, like reference, like, yo, we kind of like did a little bit too much, you know what I mean, like let's kind of like
and I think they did it well.
Back.
But I think I got the vibe that they're kind of dialing it back a little bit, you know what I mean?
Maybe editorial was like, give Aibetsu all the power because no one likes Aibetsu, and then they gave her all the power and they're like, hey, wait, people don't really like that.
Not that much.
Let's
I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I really feel the same thing. There's definitely some level of meta going on here, because like not only is he like downplaying it, but like it's I don't know, just feeling like there's a lot to it, but he's like also making a joke about like how much power, like, oh, it's all right, like you'll just save the day with your fucking disintegration beam. Like it's like it's like a little bit of both. Like it's like, okay, no, whatever, but then it's like, oh no, it's so great, whatever. Just like it's definitely like breaking the wall there a little bit.
I do like that moment too. He's like, you can just hit it with your disintegration barrier, and she's like, I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like you're kind of talking shit a little bit too while you say that to me,
Right.
Like you almost got us axed last week.
Before we get too deep into the chapter, I wanted to talk about just after the cover page on page 3, where we have like Aibetsu like goes into Iori's room in the school or whatever, and he's just like slouched over this chair, just like slacking off. And I want to talk about the kana here. Gude, like he's and it's like he's just like, and it's like blah, translated blah, but like this one's like really interesting because it's not a sound effect, right? The sound is not him going like bleh. It's Gude. Have you ever heard of Gude Tama or seen that character? It's like an egg, like a fat egg yolk character, and like he's just kind of lounging or whatever. Anyway, Gude is like it's like a Sanrio character type thing. But Gude is like a sound. It's like an onomatopoeia, but it's called what's this word I found on the internet? Yeah, it's called an ideophone. So it's a sound. Ideophone. It's a sound that represents a concept rather than like a sound effect, right? Like bang, boom, zap. Those are like, that's the sound lightning makes. That's the sound a gun makes. But this is like the sound laziness makes. But it's not a sound.
That makes a lot of sense, because I've always kind of wondered why the sound effects have like different textures in the artistry, and it's not just here in Phantom Seer. It's in a lot of times. So like if you see this, like, so this one with Iori is like a firm, like shaded, it's got like a shaded background with like, God, what is it? Like the dots. I forget what that's called.
It's comic book page dots.
The comic book page dots. Exactly. And then if you just like go to like page 6, I don't know, there's Iori like sitting up in the chair, you get the katink or whatever. That's firm black. And
and that's a sound effect.
Exactly. And that's a sound effect. Same with like page 11, the ding dong, like those are sound effects. Like that's pretty crazy.
That's the school bell.
Exactly.
So you get standard,
bong,
you get standard
bong.
font, you get standard blending options, like standard typesetting when it's a, when it's an onomatopoeia. But then when it's this situation, you get like a little bit more, extra effects added to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, yeah, because I mean, and maybe this. So it's page 13 with Sumuji here going heh, right? Like
that's another one.
Exactly.
Nico,
so like,
Nico is
okay.
It's
what
the
page?
Sound of a smile.
What page?
That makes sense just because
13.
13. Because that's what I was taking for like, heh is just like, like exactly. Like that's what I was taking it as. And that makes a lot of sense. Like I want to.
Did you say Nico?
Or like when a character like smiles and you see like nya. That was in Orient a lot. In Orient, like the MC Musashi, he would like have nya a lot when he was grinning, and like the sound effect is nya, or Nico is a really common one, or Nikodine.
Nico. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
like
Niku. I was like,
no, Nico. Yeah, Nico, and it's like smiling, like glee, brightness. You know what I mean? But it's not a sound, right?
Yeah.
It's a concept. And like in English, you have like zigzag or helter skelter. Like helter skelter is like everything's chaotic and weird, but it's not a noise. It's just the sound we make when we say like, oh, it's going wild. I just thought that was cool. So hopefully that was a
really fucking cool,
fun lesson in onomatopoeias and shit.
That is so cool.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about O Girl then, I guess, right? Because like I love her design. I think her design is cool. She reminds me of, she's like a combination between Haruko and old girl from Tenchi Muyo. What's her name? The one with the long like light blue hair.
I don't remember her name.
Ryoko,
bro.
Ryoko?
Yeah.
Personally, I'm getting huge Asuka vibes from
and Asuka.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. And you want to know what? Asuka's there too. But like for some reason, like her vibe, her like aura, like you know what I mean? Like especially like bottom right of page 10, like really feels like Haruko in bottom right of page 10.
Sure.
But like her design is really cool. I like how one of her tights goes all the way up to the skirt, and the other one you like get some like thigh there. It kind of reminds me of like Elizabeth from Seven Deadly Sins a little bit in that regard. But I love her hair, man. I love her design, and like and I love the scene where she Iori's like kind of like doing like his shadow step through the hallway. And she's like, yo, what's up, Iori? Bing, boom, boom. And you're like, and then when she says it's because I love you, you like don't really ask like too many questions.
No,
but then the end of the chapter is like, I bet you senses a phantom presence inside of you. Now it's like, oh, okay, well that might explain why she was able to pick up on him in the hallway.
The other very related thing about his ability, if you go to page 18 or whatever, when he uses his shadow ability to lock her in place, right, to paralyze her, he says like, oh, good, this works on you, because the invisibility didn't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he's like, okay, good. At least some of these abilities do work on you.
You're not and like just like the testing like kind of like vibe that he gives off on like, will this work on you? Will this not? Super reminds me of Killua in that regard. Like, you know what I mean? Like testing out like abilities and seeing how far they go without like fully committing to that, to that move, which is like really cool. I like seeing hesitation in a main character like that in a shonen. So that's really fucking cool. But it was weird. Well, I like the illustration technique that was used on that panel in page 18. How the shadows, since he's using a dense dark black shadow lock like type ability, the mangaka made sure to make the shadows light gray. You know what I mean? So that you could really see, what it's trying to do there. And I
love the shadows in that panel.
Yeah,
like the light gray with the darker gray like line around the edge or whatever. Like it looks so clean. Like, it does. Ooh, love it.
Looks very clean.
And I want to talk a little bit about how, being that he was stepping on your shadow before to lock you down, and now he's using like an extension of his shadow ability.
I thought it was like a key to like lock you. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't go nowhere.
So you could take this as, like as long as I'm putting my shadow on your shadow, then that's locking you. But that seems a little broken. I think there's more to it than that.
Pretty broken.
So like their shadows technically connect with the fucking,
the sword.
Well, not only the sword goes down and it hits her shadow, sure.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like the shadow of the sword. You see, like between her shadow and his leg shadow.
Yes,
there's
exactly.
a line connecting them.
Yep, there's that, and yep, their shadows are connected, which I feel like has to be a
I thought that was
caveat.
the phone line.
Well, there is the bunch of phone lines.
There is
too,
a bunch of
that are
phone
also
lines.
connecting them.
Yeah,
that would also connect their shadows. Yeah. But yeah, like that shadow that connects from Tsumuji's head to Iori's like bottom of his leg there. That's from the sword or key or whatever.
I see that. Okay.
So yeah, I think it would be too broken if I could just throw this fucking giant thin fucking shadow whip across the whole fucking block and lock you down and then you're stuck. Like that seems a little too powerful. So I was like, yeah, this would feel good if like maybe because their shadows are connected by other means that he's got a little bit more freedom with that ability.
Wait a minute, because that'd be so cool if there was just natural like shadows connecting them. You know what I mean? Oh, and that helps it could only just be that he's sticking his shadow key into it. That it could be that simple, but it's like if that's the case, I would like still some kind of proximity condition. That would have to be like a close range thing, obviously, because he has to have his hand on the sword, which the hand, and then the shadow comes from the hand and then into the other shadow. That seems like that would be enough conditions for me.
Well, yeah, and if he makes it like a sword, like a solid object, and not like a fucking fluid shadow,
like a tendril,
whip, like a whip or a tendril. Yeah, exactly. Like having a firm sword, materialized shadow, and I stuck the fucking. Then that's fine. Like that's totally fine too.
Yeah, and
maybe that's a stronger lock than him just shadow stepping.
Yeah, I would want to say that would probably be a little bit more than just like a step. Yeah.
Was it him stepping, or I know, and I don't know if there was like another use of this, but like chapter 1, he uses the ability, and that was Ongyoki stepping on the shadow. So like it is like makes more sense if it was Ongyoki because like there's a lot more conditions and stuff. Like it's a much more high level technique that like. Once Ongyoki steps on your shadow, you can't move. But I felt like I did remember a different case where it was just Iori.
Was a different case where Iori was just standing on some. Okay, I swear I remember.
I just skimmed really quick though, so I didn't
yeah. I'm not too sure, but yeah, this Tsumuji chick, like, it's gonna be cool to see like what she does here. Like, what is she exactly?
I thought she was gonna be introduced as like another. Character with superpowers. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like another like Phantom Seer, you know what I mean? Or another or just another sorcerer, you know what I mean? I thought that would be cool, like if we just like all of a sudden just got like a really cool, like badass female presence, like but I mean it could still be that she is that, but she's just possessed right now. So then they whoop her, the possessing spirit bounces, and then she's like, "Oh, thanks. All right, I'm on your team now because I actually am in love with Iori, and I'm going to be here as like a love triangle dynamic between you three."
Yeah, that's and you could also imagine that like even if the demon leaves the vessel, maybe like that left residual energy, and like now you're
a sorcerer because you were possessed once. Yeah, wouldn't that be a really cool way to like bring like not like established, sorcerers already in the lore to the fold, you know what I mean? Like if there was like, because you have your established characters like Kenma, Yojiro, Iori, but then like, is every new character that we see going to be like clouded up in the sorcerer world, or are we going to see people that have been brought into it like Ibetsu?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
No, I love that.
Yeah, I think I really think she is going to be something similar to like Senju Doji, right? Like some kind of human phantom hybrid, or phantom that has learned to absorb human whatever. It feels like that going from last chapter too, since I wasn't here last week, and it's like, okay, let me make sure I read. And I was like, read last chapter. The last fucking dialogue from Yayoi is, all right, rest up. Senju Doji's not our only enemy. Yeah,
that's right.
And so, like, it just really felt like this is a transition into, like, I feel like Senju Doji might be like, maybe like a Muzan type where you got your moon people. Fucking name, my Demon Slayer is not great.
You got your moon people. You mean the Automatus?
the upper demon
favorite
moons
ones.
or whatever.
Your
Yeah,
Bilkins?
Yeah, my Bilkins and my no. No, yeah, like the upper and lower moons, whatever the fuck they were, and have some like lesser versions out here now. Because like right when you see this, the Tsumuji is introduced, I'm like, man, I don't need this type of like I really don't want like, and she isn't. Even though I felt Asuka too, like Asuka's like more tsundere, where it's like I feel like she's like what, like the psychic one, is that like Dondir or Yondir or whatever? I'm not sure. What?
Yeah,
I think Yandere is like the opposite of tsundere. Oh, I thought
the one that's
was
gonna
like
kill you.
The one that's gonna kill you. I think Yandere is like the opposite of tsundere, and whereas like Mimosa would be the Yandere, right? And then like Noelle would be the tsundere.
Pretty sure. I think it's right. The Yandere is the one that's going to kill you.
Yandere is someone who has been driven to insanity by extreme obsession or love, thus resulting in abnormal behavior, if not violence.
So then, what's the one where you like don't talk shit, but like you don't properly communicate your feelings either?
Kudere is like you're so cool, you're like really cool about it, but you're not like antagonistic towards the other person. I think
maybe there isn't something for what I'm talking about then.
There's a bunch of them. There's like fucking like 20 of these.
There's a million deades.
So Kudere is cold, blunt, cynical. They may seem very emotionless and stoic on the outside, but inside they are very caring, at least when it comes to the ones they love.
Oh, so that's Karin Senpai from UQ Holder.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. And then, are you going down the list? Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Oh no, I
didn't know if you had all the definitions up. I thought we were doing this. So I was like, all right, let's do this, bro.
Well, regardless, I didn't want Yondir, whatever the fuck she is, to be in here, because it's like how she's like doing her mental gymnastics, and I bet she's like, I really should kind of like maybe pick up on some of this, because like the way she just like turns everything into a positive, it's like I could probably use that, even though she's just being a psycho. Like, I love him and he hates me, so we're both on each other's minds at all times.
Yeah, so, that logic is like that. That hit a little bit too close to home for me in my ex history. You know what I'm saying? That was a little bit too.
So with that, I'm like, I really don't need that, and that's why it's like I really did feel like she was like, maybe another shaman or just whatever, some kind of weird other high school student that has high fucking spiritual awareness, a cool bar running around or something. But then when you get the shiver from Riku and she senses it, another thing that was a little weird to me is page 17, the top panel. After the shiver, page 17 or page 16 is the shiver. Page 17, they give you this weird angle. They give you the upskirt of the fucking.
I didn't even notice that.
But because they did it with tact.
Well, see, is that like? Is there an abyss under there? Is she a phantom? Like, is that part of her ability? Like, is that part of her ability?
It's all a shell. It's all a shell, and like there's nothing under there.
Yeah. Like that's what I was thinking. Like, is that was so after the shiver, and then I saw that panel. I'm like, well, obviously the shiver was going towards this anyway, even though it could have been something else, because it wasn't. You don't get the phone call yet until after that. Hey, okay, I'm getting the phone call from my Betsu saying you're the Phantom or whatever.
Yeah. But one thing I noticed in this chapter that I think is a big thing in play here with what or who Tsumuji is. They mentioned that she's only been chasing Iori the past few days. I feel like the timing is like just so sus. You know what I mean? Like they just fought Senjudoji. They just fought like he's been at school all this time. Yes. You know what I mean? Like so like why is she just now chasing him?
That's a really good point. Wow.
The last sentence basically is she senses a phantom presence from you. Yeah. Right? Like that doesn't mean that you're a phantom. Like I feel like her being so human, like sure, it could be a shapeshift type thing. And I just think that like maybe there is some level of like, okay, Senju Doji's like a very high level phantom that incorporated a human, and now like she's working on other humans and putting phantom into humans, so it's like, you know, the reversal kind of what she is, you know, and so like obviously, you know, this Tsumuji would still have phantom abilities, but you know, it's not like Senju Doji. She's not going to be able to maybe to create other ones or whatever the fuck, but like
she's a Sailor Moon villain, a low level Sailor Moon villain, where like the higher level villain has like made someone possessed, right? And they're like, oh, I'm mean. So I it's really hard for me to say, right? Like, is she going to be bad? like just straight bad, or will she join the crew? You know what I mean? Or will she just be saved and we'll never see her again, kind of thing?
That's definitely the question. I mean, when we got the Shiver panel, like Kiko mentioned, like the next panel of like her, like the upskirt and like what that could mean. The Shiver panel, and then like the last page, like saying I sense a phantom presence from you, like made me go back in the chapter. And then you go like to page, like the top of page 14, and you see this like ominous ass panel of Sumiji, and it's not even a panel that like should be weird. You know what I mean? Like if but like the fact that the panel cuts off the eyes halfway makes it seem like if her whole face was present, then like it would just be okay. Like you look, you know what I mean? Like very like convicted. You know what I mean? Like you look like you're serious about what you're saying. It's not all that creepy of a face by itself. Right. You know what I mean? But the fact that it has the stark black background plus the panel cutting it off like halfway down the eyes, and she's not even making like a mean face, but like the way that the panel cuts it off just makes her look more sinister. You know what I mean?
And the shadow on the eyes.
Yeah, and the shadow goes over the eyes from the hair and whatnot. But like still like that, like going back to that, like when you read that first, when you see that panel first, you're like, okay, she's obvious. Like this is just funny. You know what I mean? Like she's like super like, hey, do you like Iori? Because like what's going on? So like that makes sense for that scene. But then, considering the twist at the end, you're like a phantom presence. You go back at all of these really intense moments in her character earlier in the chapter, and you see that foreshadowing there. You see those breadcrumbs there, right? Inside of like a panel like that, and you want to know what? A phantom presence from you. So going back to what Kiko was saying about how she, you know, is acting a little like, you know, like a human. But then we find out at the end, we've seen this already. So like in the Senju Doji arc, like 3 chapters ago, you had that other sorcerer in the black suit, like come up the steps. And like you could tell just because they were coming up the steps like awkwardly that they were probably sus. But remember we had that conversation in that chapter, like they did a really good job of like not letting us know like that this person was a phantom until it was time for us to know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that
that was a human, a beckoning hand with a demon, a phantom inside, right? And it came out the mouth, and it was like super like crying and dramatic or whatever. Like that could be this too.
That could be this, but they said it weird. She senses a phantom presence from you is not a line of dialogue that we've heard already. When Iori confronted that last human that was disguised, or that last demon that was disguised as a human, he didn't say anything like that. He figured it out with like deductive reasoning. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you like talked about something that I didn't even bring up yet, or something like that. It was one of those kind of situations. You know what I mean? But this is like, no, we feel this darkness coming from you before you've done anything sketchy, like you know, super sketchy. You know what I mean? So I think I am very confident personally that this chick is going to get exercised. The spirit is going to bounce. She's going to go back to being a regular person. And then what I want to say is she has powers too. I think I like what Nick said about how she has powers coming out of this rather than she always did. But like, I like this character, and I think that she brings a really interesting dynamic to Aibetsu and Iori's relationship. If it's executed properly, I feel like this could be really fun, but also like not just a gag in the series if they want to make this chick powerful. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I think just because she's infatuated with Iori now, if she is possessed, then that's all probably a game anyway. Right? So when she is exercised, she doesn't have to be this character once the possession's done. So you can.
And she wasn't before.
She wasn't before because she's been at this school and she's only just now on the senpai shit.
I love that. I love that.
So it's a clean slate with the author to work with a brand new character. Do whatever you want with, because after possession, it's a free ball game. As long as you haven't introduced that character before possession and you've already established them, you can do whatever you want with it. So
I'm digging it.
Hell yeah.
Because I would love to not have what are we going with? Yondir? Whatever. The psycho. I don't need that. I don't. It's just
her face at the end of the chapter and the top of page 14, like Knox mentioned. Those make me think yandere. Like you know, she might kill you if you keep turning her down. Right. But it's hard to say. She could just be like really lovey-dovey or something.
Sure. Yeah.
There's one more thing we've not mentioned this chapter, and we got to bring it up, is they mentioned Senju Doji's arm that was cut off, and usually when a phantom is exorcised, they disintegrate, but this did not disintegrate because it was like melded with a human body. Yeah, it was like a
yes.
human arm or something like that. That I wanted to say is great for the future of the series, right?
Yeah,
like that
really
there
cool.
are opponents that are not going to be just normal phantoms. There's going to be like it opens up, like we were saying last week, just you and me, Nox. Like we might open up like there's going to be more sword fights. Let's just have the characters be more melee oriented, like when Iori was like riding the arm of Ongyoki, going over like right up into Senju Doji's face.
Yeah.
So we got that, and now like okay, now we can get these like possessed humans that are like humans with demon powers, and they're more strong, but they're not just a regular phantom. I just think that, and also reining back in Aibetsu's like barrier ability, like maybe playing it down a little bit, you know, like that was like a spike in power or something, but now she still has to train and she still has to like keep at it or whatever. Like I think it's a really good to keep it on track and take us back to okay, this is a more well-paced, you know, shonen story that's going to last a while.
Yes.
Yeah, and you said a couple of things that reminded me. I even wanted to say it back when you mentioned. So she's not wearing the ring anymore, right?
Yes.
And it would just feel like to me that it's just like a faux philosopher's stone ring, right? Like from how
Exactly.
it was very, very unstable. You're going to get these huge boosts in, you know, power or whatever, but it's Russian roulette, basically. It could just fucking go crazy at any point. So it's like, okay, we're going to let you use this to train with. We're going to let you use this for this one instance. Now you're done with the ring forever because we can't risk it. And now you're on your own. You're way back down to whatever. And you got to grind it back up and get better.
I wish there was some detriment that came along with her using the ring back then, that they like, if they're going to rein it in, if they're going to dial it back the way that it kind of feels like they're doing in this chapter, I feel like a better way to do it would have been, and I know that you can't really do this in the moment back when you were spiking Aibetsu's power in an awkward and jarring way. You couldn't have possibly like thought about like, you know, like if this is them dialing it back because of viewer reception, then like a cooler way that I feel like you could have reined it in would be like, you know, your power level or your aptitude or your capabilities like didn't really match what this ring allowed you to do. So it like had a toll on you either physically or psychologically in some way to where she accomplished what she did in the Senju Doji fight, but then like the next chapter you see her like confined to a coma or something. You know what I mean? Or maybe in the moment, if you had the forethought and there was a little bit more, you know, future sight involved with this power spike of Aibetsu's, you could have shown her like maybe deranged in the moment, you know what I mean? Like show her like crazy, like say some like super diabolical like line of dialogue, super outside of her character, like right at the end of her using like the disintegration barrier. Like,
you're being corrupted by
like, yo, Aibetsu, like, why are you talking like that, bro? Like, what's going on? It's like, I don't know. Something just came over me. It's like, okay, no more ring for you. Let's take this ring. Let's keep your training going. We wanted to see how you did with Senju Doji. No more this. You know what I mean? Like train a little bit harder and then you can have this back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another thing they could have done this chapter was when Aibetsu was alone in that classroom, and when she sat down, she's like, well, this is a perfect time because I have to train anyway. Instead of doing that, she could have said like, I like my arm hurts or whatever, like, oh, it's good like Iori's not here because I was really struggling with the pain or something, you know what I mean? Like keeping on the down low, like that she knows it's a bad thing and Yayoi knows it's a bad thing and Yayoi took away the ring because of it. But like that was a perfect time to do it, and maybe it'll be like next chapter or 2 chapters from now. I definitely love this detriment concept though. I think that would really help also to like rein back in that she can't just do that all the time willy-nilly forever.
Like you, like maybe you can have the ring back like once you like cross a certain threshold in your training. You know what I mean? Like you can have the disintegration barrier back when you can mentally handle it, you know what I mean, or physically handle it. If there was some kind of very like severe detriment in place, either physically or psychologically, I feel like it would make that power spike in that Senju Doji fight feel a lot better, because it's like, okay, here's a glimpse of what Aibetsu is going to look like in the future, but like you know, so that you can actually like kind of like see that it's not just the Iori show, or it's not going to be for the entire series. You know what I mean? Definitely. Like this is a little bit too much for Aibetsu to do right now. So let's take it back in a way that makes sense and isn't just like we shoehorned this in so that you don't stop reading this manga before we show you what we're trying to do.
Exactly. Love that.
So I guess last thing too, like I kind of liken Senju Doji to Muzan, but what if she's just part of a group, you know, like the human phantom troop, you know? Like,
you're dumb. Human phantom troop.
We got human phantoms now.
We do have human phantoms. The human phantom troop. I'm here for it.
There could be an Akatsuki of a fucking,
Akatsuki,
whatever.
Yeah.
You know, they could have a squad in the back, which would be cool because, like, I mean, obviously, when you have a squad of OP, antagonists, it's not just one that we know we're going towards. There's just so much more, so many more options and so many more directions you can go with your story when you have all these different, high-level powered people. Yeah.
It unlocks the progression, right? Like now we think Senju Doji is the biggest bad, right?
Yeah.
But if Senju Doji is part of a team, that team has a leader, and theoretically that leader is stronger than Senju Doji. So there's that gives and then that's also motivation, right? Like even if Iori beats Senju Doji, if she was part of a team,
that
then
does the same thing to other people. Then now Iori has to take down that entire camp. So that
I hate her, so I hate the team. I hate the boss, right? Like I have motivation now to keep going, even though I've already finished my quote unquote mission or whatever.
Yep, definitely.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Last thing I want to say, too, page 14, middle of page 14. No way. Definitely not. I love Aibetsu's face here, the way that it's drawn. Like, the fucking, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, super squiggly outline on the mouth with the tongue in the middle with, like, the comic book, like, bubble or the comic book, like, dots. You know what I'm saying? In the mouth. And then, like, just the way her eyes are drawn. And, like, I love that panel, especially coming out of
her tongue is a heart.
Her tongue is a heart. Yeah.
So that means she loves Iori. Right?
Oh, shit. Here we go.
I do think so. I do think she's developing feelings for him, and I think obviously Iori will develop feelings for her. And I like Tsumuji's presence because it does make them think about it. You know what I mean? Like they're all business, both of them, I feel like. Yeah. And so like this like adds in that like tension of like, damn, like she's gonna take Iori for me, you know what I mean? Like subtly, she's not like
and I
super bent out of shape over it. Yeah,
I like how the romance is introduced in the way of like this like third party opposition to the romance that we didn't even know was there because the author did a really good job of writing these two characters in a way to where the romantic element isn't obvious, but as soon as it's introduced, it feels right. You know what I mean? To where we weren't sitting here going like, okay, when are they going to fall in love? Because they're so good at being the characters that play the roles that they're like primarily play like individually. You know what I mean? Like Aibetsu has had a lot going on inside of her individual character arc so far. Iori has had a lot going on inside of his individual character arc so far. So there's not really a whole lot of room for like, when are they going to hook up? But now that Tsumiji comes in and says like, yo, Iori's mine, and Riku reacts the way that she does, it goes, oh, okay. So she does kind of like him, but it doesn't feel like this is like a brand new feeling inside of the audience. You know what I mean? Like it would be weird if it felt like, oh, they like each other now, I guess, suddenly. Right. But like even though there was nothing that set this up before, it feels so right, I feel
there was one thing, a very subtle storytelling mechanism, which is that Iori was in love with the beckoning hand that he saved or failed to save rather when he fought Senju Doji. So like there was something there. But they're both still all business, but that sets up the possibility that like by working together they could develop this relationship. And so I think this is the first hints of like she's like questioning like, do I like him? Like flustered because I maybe do like him a lot on a subconscious level, but I haven't really thought about it too much, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I like how the author doesn't spend like too much time with Aibetsu's love for Iori after the fact that it's established, right? Yes. Because we have this very subtle establishment of Aibetsu's feelings for Riku inside of the opposition of Tsumiji's character or Tsumuji. But then, like, after that, there's no more confirmation. You know what I mean? Like, you get this very subtle confirmation in, like, her tongue is a heart, whatever Kiko, was talking about just a moment ago. And then after that, she's like, no, me and Iori are not a thing. Sumiji's like, all right, well, I'm going to take him then. And she's like, all right, well, go do whatever you want with them. Back to this training. I mean, I guess it's good that she got this guy out of my hair so I could focus on like if it was another story, I feel like we would have got a little bit more like, do I like Iori? Like, why do I? You know what I mean? We got a little bit, we would have had a little bit more internal monologue, like of confirmation of her feelings for him. But we just get this subtle confirmation and then it's left alone. And I love that. If you're going to bring in that romantic element, do it slowly and gradually. You know what I mean? So it doesn't feel like you're trying to cater to people.
Yeah, it's so subtle that you could change course.
Yeah.
They don't even they are
they
not
don't even need to be in love.
Yeah, they don't even need to be in love. They're not currently in love. They could easily this could easily be explained as she was just flustered by the question. But not
It doesn't make her a love interest only as well when she says, okay, all right, maybe I feel this way, whatever, I don't, get him out of here. Okay, he's gone. let me do my training. Like,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
not sitting
yeah.
there fucking stewing on it. She's
Yeah.
like, let me get back to my shit. I need to get me better, right? And get me
Love
right
that.
so I don't get fucking sidelined in this story later. You know, like, so they don't Sakura me, you know, like I can't have that, right? So yeah, it's just great it was just very, very well done overall. All
Very
those things
well
that you guys
done,
both
dude.
said.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the way this has been so far with their relationship. And I just really like the fact what Nick says is like, it might not go that way, even though it feels like that now.
It could
like,
not.
It might not. You know, at least we're open to that, which, you know, it's still more likely that it's going to. But at least there's
I want to say you don't even hint it if you're never going to explore that. But but the fact that possibility is there, like, and that we're not 100% wildly confident that this is the direction we're going to go balls to the walls towards is like really cool. If you're going to establish the dynamic and then like not put the pedal to the metal on it, I like that. Like, I just like to see that because I feel like you never see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But damn, this chapter I thought it was really, really good. I think it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, it's one of my favorite chapters of the whole series.
That's crazy that we were really talking about a chapter like this for 40 minutes because like
it's wild.
There wasn't like a whole lot of world building. There wasn't a whole lot of like, you know, it was literally just character work. You know what I mean? And I guess that brings for like some of the most conversation that you can possibly have.
A new character, that adds a lot of new conversations you can have.
But still, incredible chapter. Loved the content.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let's get into the next series, Kaiju number 8, chapter 19. And tremendous chapter. We start by going a little bit back in time from last chapter, from before Kafka transformed and before Kafka went to save Reno or whatever. So like super sick.
This is good. This is how you play with the hype that Kafka showing up, you know, in the middle of the confrontation last chapter. This is how you you know what I'm saying? Like you want that hype. You want that scene. You want Kafka showing up and beating that dude silly last chapter. That's great. We needed that. But just for completionism, like you want, or just for to be thorough, you want to show like why he showed up in that moment. Because there are questions that we have because of what we know about that situation from previous chapters. You know what I'm saying? Like, why does Kafka know where to go? How did he find them when we know that dude had a curtain up? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like things
where
like
did he transform and to be safe and not be found out or whatever? The
fact that the mangaka wants to show that,
I was gonna say, it just shows how well the mangaka understands how to write manga, right? Like, 'cause it's like it's not a novel, right? Like you have to cliffhanger virtually every couple of chapters, right? So like that's how you do it. You gotta have the hype jump in, boom. You gotta have people come out of nowhere and have it be fucking super fucking exciting at the end of a chapter. But then it's like, okay, let's just rein it in a little bit.
And
let's
just
explain how this happened.
why this happened this way, so that after you come down from that hype high and you start like analytically, you know, like studying the manga again, you can go, okay, things were checked here. You know what I mean? Like it feels a lot better. Absolutely.
Definitely. So how about the camo barrier being broken by, I assume it was just because Top Hat took damage, right? Like, or took enough damage to where the camo barrier just dissipates or whatever. I didn't like that it was called the camo barrier this time because it does so much more than just camouflage the area.
Right.
But you know, hey, whatever. I mean, we should. I'm calling
it really good camouflage.
It
blocks everything. You can't even go to that space. It's just so camouflaged.
It's Cortisone is involved. He throws his devil fruit on there. You can't hear anywhere.
Got to tell Eagle about this camouflage. He needs to know about this right away.
Step his camouflage game up.
His deer hunting season's coming up. We need him to know about this.
So
funny as hell,
really good fucking lot of action here. You're not like conclusion-ish, you know.
Love the regeneration. Love the regeneration like illustration on the humanoid like kaiju.
Like the smoke, like the steam or smoke or whatever.
Or smoke, because it's like we're seeing. I feel like there are multiple manga in our lineup that have creatures or enemies or opposition that have regenerative healing factors, and it's really cool to see what that regen looks like from artist to artist, because you have Shigaraki, you know what I'm saying, inside of My Hero Academia, who takes all of this fire damage and has no more skin left, and you can see those layers regrow in like really cool ways under Horikoshi's pen. Like you see the epidermis come back, you see everything come back in layers in this really highly detailed like way, and then you go over to like Jujutsu Kaisen where the art is, you know, a lot more sketchy, it's a lot more scribbly, and you see that they play with that in a way where it's like, okay, based on my art style, the regeneration would look the best in like a subtle bubble reformation. You know what I mean? But then
or like Chainsaw Man, Makima, like it's like blood or veins like attaching and like zipping back to the main body or whatever, snapping back or whatever. It's just incredible to see all the different types of this regen stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right when that's happening, I thought super cool, like detail or whatever on page 6. The humanoid kaiju's about to blow the shit out of these two homies from the platoon or whatever, and they notice like, oh shit, he's going to do something to me. Then Kafka like, you know, blocks the shot, and the dude goes like question mark exclamation point, like what, you just saved me, you know what I mean? So like, I like that they're setting that up, you know what I mean?
I love that.
I made a note on that I said that these two no names are definitely going to vouch for Kaiju number 8 now. He's going to go back and say Kaiju 8 shield him, you know, used his body to shield us away from, you know, bullet fire, crazy ass Kaiju bullet fire, whatever the fuck he shielded us from. But there's slowly he's gaining faction, whether he means to really or not, with you know, the special forces.
But how slow is it going to be though, right? Because because okay, so like we have these official kaiju hunter higher ups like Hoshina that are sleuthing this situation, you know what I mean? And we know that these are intellectually capable characters, you know, at least to a respectable enough degree to where when word comes back from these no names like, yo, Kaiju number 8, we found him, but like, guess what, dude? He totally saved us from this other kaiju that was there. You know what I mean? Like, there's only a couple things that you can think after hearing something like that. Either this kaiju is legitimately what we think of him, and it is a kaiju, and they just care about people, or this is like a person that has kaiju powers. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really all that hard to like, there's only max 6 logical outcomes as to why the kaiju you've been hunting is saving your people that he doesn't know. You know what I mean? So I feel like, considering the lore that we've gotten so far and the characters that have been established so far, I feel like the mangaka needs to do something, you know, with this information in a way that doesn't make it seem like it's taking too long for people to understand what's going on here. Because after something like this, not only is there a small amount of logical reasons why a kaiju would shield random humans that he doesn't know, but like, it's like, man, it's like, this is like, you really need to show how capable humans can be in other ways besides just strength. You need that super hyper analytical, you know, like deductive reasoning character. Probably Hoshina, that, you know, even though Hoshina is kind of like attacking Kaiju number 8 at the end of this chapter, there could be a situation to where Hoshina knows that this is like what the situation is, and is still just testing Kafka to see what his physical capabilities are.
It seems kind of to me that way, because Hoshina does say right in here, he's like, you've been taking good care of my officers, right? Like, it's like, ooh, does that mean you've been attacking them and hurting them, and you're just equating all damage done by kaiju to you know, to Kafka right now? Or does he somehow know that Kafka has been saving his team?
Damn. I love that so much.
That's a really good question.
It's very good to
double meaning. Same sentence means 2 different things, and then Kafka can misinterpret and say like, "Oh, you're gonna hit me," and like when he really means like, "No, you've been a good guy, right?"
And it's perfect to have Hoshina be the one, because obviously not only has he been shown very, very capable. Obviously, he's a vice captain, so of course he's going to be. But he's very smart, has the deductive reasoning, is figuring out all this shit along the way, analyzing his team, saying, you know, whatever, maybe he said it, you know, sincerely to Kafka, like, don't get cool with your people because they'll probably die. You know, just like he's been so like thoughtful, or what, like he's been he's given so many different like important pieces of information or whatever, and he's figuring out different pieces of information, and on top of all that, he's the one that fights a fucking humanoid kaiju, right?
He has the fighting style made for it.
It's just, it fits so perfectly that it just really does feel that Hoshina does feel like he's knowing that something is off here.
Yeah.
That this kaiju could have done damage, is saving people, is doing weird shit. And I really think that he's on to it. But like, because he know, like, is this one of his men? I don't think so. Like, there's no way to, I mean, you can just like, that could just be an option that you think about, but there's he doesn't have any evidence that would support that in any way at this point.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the kind of character that would go balls to the wall off of a hunch with little information. Like, he probably feels strongly about what he thinks, but knows that like he needs a lot more evidence before he can actually like be like, all right, you know, and slam the gavel down. You know what I mean? And who knows like what he'll do once he has enough information to be confident about anything. But in the meantime, I feel like he's playing it very safely. It just feels right inside of Hoshina's character, how he's been established as someone who wants to get to the bottom of things, but isn't like obsessing himself over it, isn't like very, you know, clearly establishing himself as hard opposition to Kafka if he were to find out his secret. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what he'll do with that information. I love that. Know. I love that uncertainty in his character.
Or
definitely,
you could imagine, what if he never gets the information, right? It's like, say on page 12. And I just love the choreography of this fight, right? But on page 12, as he's doing the first slash to take, you know, Kafka's head off. From Hoshina's perspective, I think if he was probably thinking like, if I take his head off, great, I just killed the kaiju, right? Like, but he probably at the same time like isn't super upset because this is a humanoid kaiju, right? Like, I might be able to talk to this thing, you know what I mean? Like, get its motivations later. So like, he's playing both sides, you know what I mean? Where like he it's totally fine for him to go balls to the wall and kill this thing. But if he doesn't and he gets to learn more about it and he gets to go deeper because he's that kind of character, that also works for him, which is like really
might work better for him.
Might work better,
obviously for plot reasons, but also just inside of his character. You know, you probably, if you're so interested in this anomaly and this like you know, new situation inside of your career, you probably want to learn about that before you kill it. At least try to apprehend so you can try to have a conversation, and if not, okay, kill it. But like, don't just fucking kill it right away before you even try. He's not even trying to kill Kafka right now.
Now I'm wondering, what does Kafka sound like in kaiju form? Is it the exact same voice, or is it like a monstrous type of voice? It has to
be a monstrous, like it's the same voice, but with like that voice augmented filter on it.
But even with the voice augmented filter, you have a speech cadence, you have a speech like how you talk and like what words you use and your style of speech. And Hoshina is smart enough to pick up on that, I think,
That's
right?
True. That's true. So he's gonna have to Batman it. He's gonna have to Batman it and like use a different voice. Are you Bruce Wayne right now? You sound like my homie Bruce. Where's the Joker? He must have friends.
So what y'all think about this choreography in
this
fight?
I love seeing fucking Hoshina turn up, bro. As soon as we got that double spread on 12 and 13, bro, I was like, it's happening. We're seeing high level kaiju hunters that don't have guns. Do stuff. You know what I mean? Because it was cool seeing like Mina, even though I would have really preferred personally to see her use that staff weapon that she has on her back, which it still could be, you know what I mean? It could be that could be that weapon just in sniper mode, you know what I mean? You never know. But like it was cool, even though I wanted to see her use that staff, that she had a cold-blooded ass sniper and used it in a really badass way. I was like, okay, that's tight. Fuck yeah, I'm here for that. But I need to see a motherfucker with a warhammer, swords, knives, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need something that's not, like, combustion based, you know what I mean?
And Hoshina did say that he's more suited for medium and miniature size kaiju, and that, you know, Mina is more suited for big giant kaiju, but just because that's the case and she has the big sniper weapon
doesn't
and
mean
will blow
she
the
won't
giant hole,
smoke you at close range.
Exactly. We got a 92% here now with you know, with Hoshina.
That's a big
and he had to do the, you know, the Gentei Kaijo or whatever. I don't know. It's fucking the Bleach one. You know, we can only use so much power when we're in like Katakura Town or whatever. So like we gotta, you know, have the fucking limiters released. So that was really cool.
That was cool that it
92,
said, okay, I'm gonna take the limiter away. So everyone's got a limiter, which is a really cool question, because it's like, okay, so if these combat suits are meant to bring out a certain percentage of your capabilities based on who you are in relation to the combat suit, then like and you only get to like 50%, 60%, then like can you have your limiter taken out before a certain like
I don't think it's like that.
Yeah. So like you have to already be exceeding, you know, like your regular percentage, like naturally, and they just keep you at like 80%.
No. Yeah. I would say that your max can still only be 100%. I mean, that's what it feels like. Your max can only be 100%. But if get over 80%, like you say, or maybe 70 or whatever it is, I feel like you're going to be exerting your body too much, so they have a natural limiter thing that they put on within the suit that will only release it when you ask for, hey, I need my shit released now because I need to face some big shit here. So we're gonna, grant you access. Basically,
give me the power I need.
Not just detriments to yourself, but like to your surroundings, right? Like you're super strong, right? Like you're gonna grab a doorknob and you're gonna rip it right off the door, right? Because you're that strong. So like normally you don't want to be like super mega strong. So you're like I have a limiter on, but as you know, as y'all are saying, like it's also a weapon, right? So like you have to get like permission to become a superhuman, please. You know what I mean? Like yeah.
Well, and like I'm saying here with like the 92%, sure, Hoshina. Okay, 92%. I don't want to say like that only means his like close quarters combat is 92%. So like I was going to kind of use that as an example to think like, okay, we'll just say that his 92% does represent how good he is in close quarters combat, and then you can give like Mina like an 85% close quarters combat, which is still going to be so fucking high and could probably demolish anybody, other than maybe Hoshina and a couple other characters, maybe in the series.
Any people who rank relative to each other.
But I bet her percentage overall is higher because I'm not trying, like that's kind of just an example I was using. Like, so like she could be at 85% in physical, but still be the 99, in 2K so that, fucking sniping,
So that pre-limiter percentage is how much the maximum amount that you can comfortably bring out before you start hurting yourself. So for me, my maximum percentage before I start hurting myself is 85%. For Nick, it's 60. For Kiko, it's 90. And then once you are at that threshold of maximum capability that you can bring out of the suit without hurting yourself, and you need to go farther than that, you then ask for permission to tap into that remainder of that 100% that you have left.
I can see that.
And I would still assume, I mean, that would make it complicated. I would just assume there's just some kind of base level. Okay, you're at 65%. We're now limiting you, and you will only be running at 65% at all time. That's as much as we're ever going to grant anybody to run with at any time. And
so they cut they give you the limiter before your maximum potential at base.
Yeah, I think there's just a base level of limiter, no matter what it is, 65% of the suit, we'll just say, and that if you exceed 65 at any time, they'll let you train that and hone that, obviously, and get better, and you will eventually be able to bring out more of the suit, but they just won't let you use that in practical combat until the situation arises where they grant you the access to it because the situation arises that you need it.
I like that.
So,
I like that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
That's how Bleach did it. I mean, that's just So
how about Hoshina's eyes?
The Rinnegan.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen him open his eyes, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Like this,
if like this for sure. If we're wrong about that, like please let us know in the special grade chat. No, here's what I want to say about these eyes, right?
Yeah.
Do you think one of these eyes
is augmented?
Is a kaiju eye.
Oh!
Like, because using kaiju tech, right? You know what I mean? Like, they're using kaiju bullets, kaiju armor. This armor is like literally like kaiju skin, like with some tech added to it, right? So like it like brings out your power. Like, what if one of these eyes is like an augmented eye using kaiju tech? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hold on, bro.
Why is one a Rinnegan?
You want to know what? That's really cool. It could be one is a Rinnegan just because, and obviously there's a consistent shadow over
shading effect,
but like it could be a situation where one eye is just like more visible than the other, even though.
Oh, it's so different though.
I know. It's so different. So you want to think
it can't be that. I don't believe
it can't be that. I just want to throw that. I love your idea. I definitely. I just want to say I'm entirely on board with what you just said.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out the other possibilities just so that we have bases covered.
Yes.
But I love the idea that one of the eyes is a kaiju eye, because then that plays into the idea that Hoshina even though he's sleuthing around as if he's trying to defeat Kafka or get to the bottom of Kafka so that he can neutralize him or take him off of the map in ways that Kafka doesn't want. If he has kaiju tech in himself already, then that will make it feel better when he eventually goes, I know your secret and I don't care. We're chilling. You know what I'm saying? Now that I know that you're a guy, you know what I'm saying? And you're in my unit. Oh yeah, you're kaiju number 8. I ain't gonna say shit, bro. I got the eye. You know what I'm saying?
And that's if his eye, let's call it an eye technique. That's if his eye technique is hidden to the rest of the military, right? That I can definitely see. That's definitely a possibility.
It would have to.
It could also be have given to him by the military because he's so good, because he can exercise 92% of his combat ability. He was given from a lab. Here's try this fucking eye, dude.
So that means that higher up, like Illuminati kaiju officials, like Illuminati level kaiju officials, know entirely about this human kaiju hybrid stuff.
I mean, I don't find it that crazy. They could. Yeah. I just feel like because there's kaiju bullets, because this kaiju armor is literally kaiju muscles and shit. Right? Isn't that what it is? Like they're using kaiju body parts to fight kaiju. It just makes sense to me that they would be like, externally.
It's always been externally, but this
there's
is
always
an
that
implant.
shady ass lab that's doing crazy shit. Like try implanting an eyeball in your eye, right?
Right.
I think the only other explanation besides what we've covered right now, right? It's just drawing. It's just drawing, and it's nothing more than just shadow.
Yeah.
Or it's a kaiju eye. What's the other option? Like it's a
glass eye. I don't know.
No, like an eye technique, like magic. We're adding a magic system to this. No, we don't want that. I don't want that.
It's human tech.
What do you mean human tech?
It's like extra human tech.
A glass eye.
Like cyborg, like a cyborg
eye.
Yeah.
Like,
that could be.
I mean, it could be like
not
human.
like a glass eye, but a replaced eye.
Yeah, you said glass eye, and I was like, oh, that's not as advanced as where I'm going. It could still be glass, but just do more stuff as glass. Yeah.
But
I'm thinking
I'm
that
not even
instead
saying
of
that either. But
well, I'm saying instead of kaiju tech in the eye, it's human tech in the eye.
Sure.
And it still gives you more, abilities than what you would normally be able to do as a regular human, but it's not kaiju cells or kaiju DNA or anything like that.
But I
really
agree.
think it's
we don't want it to be Rinnegan. We don't want it to be Sharingan. We don't want it to be a magic system that's eye based.
Like
that's
definitely
so
not. Oh my god, I would hate that.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. There's no natural energy system that is not related to kaiju in this series. Yeah.
So I think it is shading, and I just think the only way.
Really?
I mean, because it's just like dramatic effect, sure, but not only that. Don't you think there'd be some kind of scar around his eye if he got a fucking eye?
No, but like here's
That's
where
a good point too, though.
I'm so opposed to the shading idea because look at the panel. But the shading on this side behind the eye, like on his face. This shading on this side and this shading on this side is the same. So
exactly.
Why would the eyes be different if the face is the same?
That's what I was saying. It has that like that blanket.
The eyelash part of the eye is darker on that side.
It's only ever
wait.
That's
the
drawing.
eyelash.
That's drawing.
The eyelash. Let me see.
Yeah. So like how anime eyelashes are. It's just a big thick bar of black, right?
Yeah. I see that the same on both sides.
It's almost exactly the same.
Looks a little different to me.
I think it's because the pupil
and that's where it overlaps the pupil.
Yeah, I think the pupil is just darker, so it's that optical illusion, right?
Optical illusion.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to find and you want to know what? I totally see what Kiko is talking about right now. I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice the difference in the eyebrow or the eyelash until right now. For me. But I don't think that that's because it's done on purpose. I think that's because just the pupil is just dark as fuck on that.
Because
side.
This is drawn by a human being, and human beings aren't machines. I don't got kaiju hands that can draw perfectly.
Kaiju hands.
Sure. I mean, I would just expect a scar on the eye,
Dude,
that doesn't have to be the case.
It's very advanced technology.
Yeah, that's a really good job. What? No,
they
Kiko,
just
that's a
pulled
good
it out and put it back in.
Isn't that how it works? I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
No, dude, that's a really good point.
It's like the Fates and Hercules, they're all trading the eye around.
I'm not saying that it has to happen this way, but typically Kiko is right. Usually, if that's a thing, there would be some kind of like drawn proof. Like there's like a scar.
The drawn proof is the pupil.
Yes.
It's totally different.
No. I accept that it's proof. I'm not saying it's not proof.
Can be.
It's definitely there. And if this is the proof for what you're saying, then it was always there. But I'm just saying, I can see a scar if that is the case. If there's no scar and the technology is just so advanced that it can replace your eye without scarring you, that makes sense too. But
I'm also very confident that human technology in the year 2020 is capable of replacing someone's eye without scarring their skin of their eye around their eye. Why would it hurt their skin?
That's so true. Got it. But no.
I don't know. How do you scoop an eye out? Like, how do you scoop the eye out? Like, and then
you don't think you can do it without
delicately
without touching the skin? You don't think you can do it?
Yeah, you can. You can.
You totally can.
Yeah. No. That's a good point, Nick. That's a good point, Nick, because people have definitely had their eyes replaced, and you can't see anything. Like, you can tell it's a glass eye there. Like, that's not your real eye, but like there's no. But at the same time, this is a manga, not real life. So
and you're not connecting a glass eye to fucking nerve endings and stuff.
Eyes
so like,
have been connected. I'm curious about that, but I'll look that up later.
But the point is though, like even though I'm sure there's technology that exists that can replace your eye without scarring the tissue around it, even though that's a thing, even in the year 2020, and this is obviously science fiction.
But in manga,
the author might decide, this is how I show that.
We're advanced enough.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, we will see.
Yeah, we'll see. But man, Hoshina in this last page with the fucking hands by the hips and the fucking bro, like the stance.
Neutralized.
My man is stanced up right now.
Mitoru Ei.
Yes.
Rashomon, that
Mitoru Ei. Rashomon. Yes.
I guess one more little thing before we kind of move on from this is where the Top Hat Kaiju says, I know your profile now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like that.
I'll kill
AKA,
you next time.
I've assessed your type of kaiju. You're obviously a blah, 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 fucking big battering ram style. Well, I'm a fucking sit back and shoot
I'm a shooter.
Style, you know,
pew, pew.
I'm a pew, and you're a pow.
You know, I couldn't fight in the hood, so I shot, you know, like that type. So, like, but next time I will have countermeasures, basically. Like, you know, like what's, and kind of even going back to what you were saying about Hoshina, like not caring if he kills Kafka here or not, because he's really, okay, if I kill you, I kill the Kaiju number 8, but if not, I gathered information. So it's like, there's like different types, and Hoshina would be the one to know, like, hey, there's physical, you know, CQC punch style fucking kaiju. There's shooting style of kaiju that are, you know, humanoid, that are this size.
They're not just big chompy stompers.
Whatever types of weapons. I don't know, a fucking whip, whatever it's got to be. But like, there's different ranges and styles of fighting, like within kaiju. So like that made a lot of sense with what Top Hat's saying. Is like, I know your type. The next time I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna have done whatever genetic modifications I need to do to me, so I'm not a shooter next time. I'm an actual, you know, handser. And,
I'm a handser. Get a little handsy next time.
and so like, I don't know. Hopefully, like it's gonna be, you know, because Kafka washed his ass last chapter, right?
Super wash, bro.
Right.
So we got to have it be a little bit more formidable of an opponent next time. So,
I
definitely love that. Like this manga has just been so high quality and so high action, but also like well paced with character development and world development. That like
and science fiction exposition that does not feel overwhelming like Samurai.
And all of these questions we have, I just feel so confident that whatever the answers are, it's going to be cool as hell, because it's just been straight fire this whole time. So it's like, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, you could see the planning, exactly. And I feel like a lot of the worry that comes from people in what I've noticed in my study of, like, you know, other manga analysts in our time, like in this craft, you know what I mean? Like I look at a lot of other YouTube channels, I see how other people do things. And I feel like people get worried too quickly about things that don't make sense to them inside of stories that come from authors that they are not familiar with. You don't know this author at all. You've never read any of their other work, but you are so confident that a concept that you don't understand yet, that was just introduced in this story, doesn't make sense and is stupid. You know,
I wonder
mean?
if that's like, you think that's like a carry over from like people who watch too much American TV and American
Dude,
books?
it's super
Because, like,
an American thing. It's
I've always said that like
American
stuff is tell then show. Like this character is super strong, and anything he does, it's going to be really crazy. And when you see it, it's going to make sense because he's very strong. And then he punches the building over. Where like Japanese is like show then tell. Like what the fuck just happened?
Right.
He's like, be patient.
Yes.
They will tell you very soon, or if they're not going to tell you very soon, it's going to be a mind blowing event in like later. So just let it happen. Just enjoy it.
I'll give you a
Kaiju number 8.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's Kaiju number 8 being 2 things about it. Being that it gets a week off every month.
Yes.
And the fact that this pacing has been literally perfect shows how safe it is, right? Like this author knows it's not he or she, I'm not even sure, but is not getting axed. Like this story is not getting axed. Yeah. And when you have that just like it clearly feels like a sense of safeness there with your story that you're going to when you have Samurai 8 where it's like, okay, we're rushing this to the end and now I'm supposed to give you all this like high level fucking sci-fi information, like because I gotta fucking exposition dump it to you right now and it's just gonna be overwhelming and stupid. Like you can't have that with a story like this, and like that's what makes it so like feel like the pacing feels so well, because like you're saying the sci-fi information that we're getting on these weapons or this fucking
it's coming
whatever
at
the tech,
amazing pace. Like it's not
we get it when we need it. Nothing feels shoehorned, nothing feels rushed, nothing feels like we're not getting it when we should. Like
there's enough,
it's coming when we need it.
There's enough like not science fiction exposition elements of the story that are interesting enough to where we know it's a science fiction story, but like you don't have to drop like physics and like science like shit on us in order for us to feel the science fiction element. We know that they're using technology that we don't have, but like the kaiju element is so interesting that you can focus on kaiju biology, which is entirely new information that we're gonna eat that shit up regardless. Like we've never had that before. Give me all of that, but like new technology, bullets, shell casings, you know what I'm saying? Like fucking technology. We've seen new, inventive, never before seen technology before. It all comes with the same kind of explanations. But like biological shit, like kaiju bodies, no one's like, we don't have that in history. So when you dump that information on me, I don't care. But like, regardless of how cool your gun is, if you're talking to me about that, like if you're dumping exposition onto me about like the scientific, and technological and industrial aspect of your new technology that you're introducing in your science fiction world, it's like, that's cool, but like I don't want to fucking sit and read 3 chapters straight of the exposition behind your, fucking, industrial situation in your story. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, so when we get this pacing in Kaiju number 8 where it's like, you have really cool technology you've never seen before. That's a big deal. We're going to focus on that, but we're going to give you little chunks like here and there. You want more. You haven't learned enough yet, but before you complain that you don't know enough yet, here's some really cool Kaiju stuff to hold you over until the technology exposition gets to like, a reasonable you know what I mean, like level. And when I was talking about like earlier about how like people jump the gun on their like criticisms of certain series, what I was saying is like, fam, you don't know this author, you've never read anything that they've done before, you don't know their style of information delivery, you don't know their style of anything. All you have is your experience with the genre and the history of that genre as far as you know of it. So if you're going to take this wholly new concept and this wholly new idea inside of the genre and go, things don't feel familiar enough to me, so I'm going to say it's bad. You know what I mean? Like, this is bad. I don't like this. I don't get it. So therefore I don't like it. I don't get it yet. So therefore I don't like, get the fuck over yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like just chill. It's 14 chapters. And it's not even saying that people are complaining about this. You know what I mean? Like no one, this isn't coming from anywhere, but I'm just equating like this mangaka's like storytelling style to like complaints that I've seen in like other manga, to where like this situation here with, we don't know what's going on with Hoshina. And we just had a whole conversation about how he could have kaiju tech inside of him. You know what I mean? Like there are so many like new ideas that we've just brought up that don't have any evidence that it's really rooted in the story. Like very vague, like we could tie very vague things to these ideas that we have. You know what I mean? But even though they're vague, they still feel so good because the skeletal like structure of this story is so like well established that like we can make inferences that don't feel like reaches, even though we have no evidence supporting what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that you can even do that in this story at 14 chapters is like a really big deal for a science fiction story inside of manga, in my opinion. And
19.
Yeah, 14 is Phantom
Oh yeah,
Seer.
14 is Phantom Seer. But still,
Phantom
we have
Seer.
less than 20 chapters inside of Kaiju number 8.
Definitely.
And we are making huge like technological and like scientific like predictions. And we're not scientists. This is just going off of the information that the story has given us.
Another thing that's coming to my mind about this is that like I think it's actually very rare for people generally, like you and me and everyone here, everyone listening, right? It's very rare to encounter a lot of series in small chapter in the beginning, right? Like when you first get into manga, you're like, I'm going to read all of One Piece. I'm going to read all of Hero. I'm going to read all of Black Clover, Berserk, these ones that have hundreds of chapters, right? So you're used to binging tons of story, knowing it's good. Someone's already told you that Berserk is good. You're just going to read it, right?
Yeah,
so you're not like worried about it. Yeah. And so you're not analyzing like, oh man, is this going to get canceled? Where's this going, right? Like you know it's going somewhere good.
Yeah.
And now with the advent of all these apps and obviously the internet, like having such easy access to all these new stories, now people are getting to a point where I'm caught up with 10 manga and they're all under 50 chapters. And now you do wonder, like, is this going to get canceled? Is that going to get canceled? And now we're going to have all these people that we have to all learn. Everyone, you and me and everyone has to learn, like, how to approach a manga that isn't established yet. Because as you say, it's so unfair to be like, I don't get it. This isn't clear yet, or this character isn't fully hashed out yet. It's only 19 chapters.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to figure everything out instantly. And for you to say that the series is bad because you can't pinpoint things that are, unclear to you instantly. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, who the fuck are you, dude? And it's like, going into what you were saying, it's like, yes, like when someone recommends you Berserk and they say Berserk is one of the best manga of all time, like you hear that all the time from people who recommend you Berserk. So when you start Berserk and you get to a point in Berserk to where you're like, I don't know what's going on, this is weird, I don't know if I like this, you stick with it because you know you haven't seen what people have been ranting and raving about in the series yet. So you know it's going to get better. You know what I mean? Even though it's awkward to you, you don't understand things that are going on right now. You have 200 more chapters to figure out those questions. When you're caught up and something doesn't make sense to you, it's a lot easier to go, I don't think this is eventually going to become good because I don't understand it yet. If you are that kind of person, you're fucking weird. But like, you know what I mean? But like, it makes a little bit more sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very, very interesting.
But that's all I got for Kaiju.
I'm good on Kaiju number 8.
Fantastic conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
All right, let's get into Undead Unluck, chapter 42. As long as they don't forget, and I'm just super fucking excited to talk about this. I'm fucking ready. We begin our chapter with Fuko and Andy. They've buried the fallen comrades, and then the bar owner comes over and says, "How can I atone for this?" And Andy says, "Pour one out for the homies every year on this day."
And I love the double, like we were talking about double meanings and shit, right? Earlier in like I think maybe Kaiju number 8 or Phantom Seer, I can't remember, but we were talking about it earlier tonight, and like when he says pour one out for my people every single night, and you better not
every
skip
year,
it,
every
year, and you better not miss a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I'm gonna come get you. I'm gonna know, and I'm gonna come get you. You know what I mean? So like that's cool because obviously the scene is supposed to be showing that it shows compassion on behalf of Andy, but that he still very much so cares about this random barkeep's betrayal. You know what I mean? So he's like, okay, I could kill you right now, justifiably, and it would be fine. No qualms, no harm, no foul for me. I do not care if you die. Fuko cares. So that's maybe, or this is either because of Fuko or it's because of, okay, we're showing a softer side of Andy to where he really cares about this but understands the game. You know what I mean?
That's the one.
Yeah, he understands the game. He knows that she did what she legitimately felt like she had to do, but it was still shitty. So I'm not going to kill you, but like just honor my friends every fucking year.
Yes.
And maybe they won't harbor any like ill will towards you like as ghosts. You know what I mean? Like that's a really cool line of dialogue.
Yep.
And then Fuko is like, yo, like you like, you know what I'm saying? You're not as ruthless as you kind of like come off. Like you let that lady off, you know, easy. And he was like, no. I just want her to suffer for the rest of her life, which is true because she does have a chore to do every year that she can't forget about. He is literally locking her into a certain ritual. So like yes, what he said stands true there because he's making her do something and over and over again. But at the same time, he definitely let her off easy because he understands.
He absolves her of guilt. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's just so cool that that
you know
scene
what I mean? Like,
just does.
He
so
leaves her
much.
with guilt forever.
Yeah.
Well, but he's also giving her a way to atone when if he just walks away and says like "fuck you," then she's going to be guilt ridden for her entire life.
But she could forget that. But she could forget that. But she has to remember it forever. But she does have a way to atone while remembering forever. It's very it's very subtle. Like the
it's
middle
a
ground she's
beautiful.
in.
It is just a beautiful. Like holy shit, Tozuka! Like that's like so like that does so
you
much.
do this too, Tozuka.
Yeah, like that.
Too,
yes,
you know,
like this situation allows for Fuko's character to shine, Andy's character to shine. The situation, the way he reacts is so Andy, but it's so not Andy because this is supposed to be a different time in his life before we understand him the way that we do. But it still feels like very much so like like something Andy would do or how he would react. So it's so cool that Tozuka is giving us a character that is so transparent so early, but while still being holistically like one kind of person. You know what I mean? It's like
definitely
crazy how like the spectrum that we have inside of these characters in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, definitely.
And go for it, Kiko.
Well, I wanted to take us to a callback from chapter 1, but it might be too big to do right now. If you guys
let's hold it.
Okay. I was about to say, man, lay it on me, bro.
Is it specifically related to this scene with the?
No.
Okay. Let's hold it for later. Let's hold it for later.
Hold it then, whatever. But I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have a note written down, so you won't forget it. But right after the scene, we move to this double spread, this sick double spread, another flashback-esque double spread. You know, throwing back to the whole like the loop double spread, right, where we saw these loop panels. But now we have all these panels of Fuko, you know, doing the shit with Andy over all these years, right? And I wanted to throw some points out here. I'll start with one, and I'll leave it up. I'll open it up to you guys to add some more. But we know definitively that at the current moment, at the end of the chapter, it is 1876. Right? So because Fuko said in 144 years, it's going to be 2020. We're going to meet up in Shinjuku. So like we know that 1876 is,
and that is when Budweiser came out.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Shit.
That's awesome.
I have a lot of date stuff. I have a lot of stuff.
Dates is something that is so important to Undead Unluck, and I never forget to like look into any date that I see. So I'm happy that you're here for that.
So one thing in terms of the dates I wanted to bring up with this this double spread of all these scenes of Fuko and Andy is in the middle of this 6-7 double spread. We have Fuko and Andy fighting union members. And this is huge. This is immensely huge.
We know that because they're in suits.
No.
They got the masks.
The masks.
The hood, masks. Yeah.
I don't even remember these masks. Who wore these?
Chapter one.
God
this
damn
my Chapter 1 call. That's not my Chapter 1 callback.
What the fuck?
The thing I think is huge here for the story as a whole, and Kiko, you've brought this up many times in terms of like there's only 101 penalties you can get before Ragnarok, but we also know that if you don't do any quests for 90 days, you automatically get a rule.
I thought it was
right?
6, I thought it was 3 months.
It's just a penalty which results
90
in
days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, why this is important is because seeing that before 1876, we literally know the Union is around, right? Before 1876. It proves that there has been a group doing these quests the entire time, right? And so that to me proves, or like it makes it make sense that like humanity wouldn't just immediately die after a loop because of 101 rules just happen because there's no union, no one's doing quests, and so okay, rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, you would have Ragnarok happen in like, I don't know, what's 100 divided by 4, it's like 20, 25, 30 years or whatever, and then boom, just by not doing quests you've already lost, you know what I mean? But no, like correct. The union after a loop, the union spins up very early, like before 1876. So I just think that's like a really cool way to like show that this does make sense still, which is very impressive for all these fucking layers to the story, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna stay on this panel and take it into a kind of a different direction a little bit.
Yeah, do it.
Just a couple of things. So we talked about it in the last segment with Kaiju number 8, but pacing, right? Like, so this feels a little too fast paced a little bit for me.
Okay.
I don't hate it because we know that we don't know, but we assume at 101 chapters we're going to get a Ragnarok, right? And we're going to presumably go through another loop. So like it's not a big deal that we're kind of montaging their time together.
Yeah.
And because there's at least 3 things that you can see Fuko grow here. She is very fluent in English now. You see that she is an English speaker. So, I mean, that might be subtle.
They're talking Japanese the entire time.
That's Japanese in the...
unless it's brackets, unless it's angle brackets.
Unless it's
angle brackets English.
Angle
but
brackets.
anytime Fuko is speaking without angle brackets, it's because Andy knows Japanese.
Yeah,
so
right.
and we don't, and I don't mean we're seeing this on this montage, but like right at the next page, every other page, she's speaking in English.
She's is in English in brackets.
In English brackets the whole time.
That's sick. I did not pick up on that. Thank you. Yeah, sorry for immediately saying no. Fuck you.
No, that's not it. Fuck yeah. No, let me shoot that down real quick.
Well, and there's only narration on the double page. There is no dialogue, right? Like so like that.
But immediately after,
count.
like you see her doing the unluck ritual, and like she's talking in English. That's awesome.
She's speaking English, so she has grown her learned a new language very fluently. So that's one. Her marksmanship has increased tremendously. She's shooting everybody in these fucking look at her. She's.
First panel, page 6. Middle panel, page 6, 7. Yeah.
So like, you get those 2 things, and then the big one is obviously their growth together, which is you get towards the end of the chapter. So that's well rounded nicely, but this is just what I want to say. Like for Undead Unluck, Tozuka's handling this perfectly. I don't have the only thing that it just feels fast paced because of the state of Shonen Jump right now, and that's where I was going with this whole thing. Is that this is par for the Shonen Jump course really but we're at the 40 chapter mark, which you usually associate manga being safe in that area, which we know Undead Unluck is with all the color covers it's getting and stuff like that. We know it's safe, but when you see this pace so fast, in the back of your mind, you're still just like,
you're like, wait a minute,
man, is this what Tozuka really wants to do with these scenes, or are we getting rushed through this a little bit too quickly? And sure, it could be a half a chapter instead of just a montage, or whatever, but yeah, like this is all resulting in a power boost for Fuko and Andy, really.
Yes.
So we don't have to go super in depth on how they grow together, their relationship grows, because you get that really at the end to just sum it all up. Okay, here's where we're at now. Right. So it's fine, but yeah, I would have liked.
I wanted to piggyback off what you were saying in terms of Fuko's growth. This Soul Calibur past memories thing is basically a hyperbolic time chamber for Fuko, right?
Yes.
She's like, as you said, Kiko, she's learned English. Yeah. She's learning muscle memory and battle intuition, right? Like, yes, you cannot get physically stronger in this space, presumably, right? But she's learning accuracy. She's learning battle intuition, strategy, this kind of stuff.
Learning everything she can feasibly learn in such a short amount of time in big ways. Like physically,
and it makes so much sense.
It doesn't make sense that you would be able to become a bodybuilder after 2 weeks of fucking hitting the gym. You know what I mean? But muscle memory, accuracy, things all entirely brain related.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense that you'd be able to pack a lot of growth into such a short amount of time if all you're doing is mental work. You know what I mean?
And a huge one in that space is her affection for Andy, right?
Yeah.
You can only grow your affection for a person so quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But given years of time, presumably, I feel like they're going through years of time here in the blink of an eye. That gives her years of growth of her feelings for Andy in the blink of an eye. Where that's a huge power boost. She's immediately going to leave this space, and her ability, her unluck is going to be immediately stronger out of the gate. 100%. Right away.
That is such a unique and inventive way to power up your main characters. And originally, when I was looking at this spread, and Kiko was originally like talking about how fast paced it feels, I feel like I felt that because like my idea of how this flashback or this history, situation inside of Ando's past was going to go was that we were going to see, I think what I said last week was Fuko ends up in mid 1800s Wild West with Andy right now. You know what I mean? And then, they complete this Wild West arc. And then, a time skip inside of this, future space, or this this extra dimensional situation with Andy's past with Autumn transports them to the next leg of Andy's immortality, which would be the Civil World War I don't know, whatever. The next era of his immortality shows the next leg of his adventure, and then Fuko's just going to show up there. And I think I said Andy is not going to remember her. You know what I mean? They're going to finish the Wild West arc. Then Andy's memories are going to go back to normal. Fuko is going to get the development and the growth. Andy's going to be sitting there as an astral projection, watching all of these things happen the way that they do. So he gets growth just from observing, even though the memories don't stay with him throughout this flashback arc. You know what I mean? So you still get both growths in that way, but I was so confident that we were going to see Wild West, World War I, World War II, Vietnam. I thought we were going to literally go through Wolverine origins, you know what I mean, for Andy in this way. But the fact that we get 5 years, 7 years of her just staying in the Wild West,
whatever it is,
she doesn't have to go through his entire immortality in order to win this. She just needs to get to a level of comfortability and understanding of Andy to where she completes the arc. So she can stay just in the Wild West area and just spend 5 or 10 years with him and not have to see him in World War II, not have to see him in Vietnam. But now that she's reached this level of understanding of Andy's character and comfortability and love for him, she finishes the arc and she can disappear and come back into the normal because she's reached that point.
Right. The question with this chapter is, what was the exact trigger for her disappearing at the end of the chapter, right? Because two things happened in very, very quick succession, and you touched on both of them, Knox. One, she learned the date, right? Andy said, April 15th, 1865, Washington, D.C. That's the first memory I have, right? And Andy even says, knowing that you're probably going to go teleport over there, right? And go see what happened in this memory. But then immediately after that, obviously, she says that she loves him. And immediately after saying she loves him, then, she starts disappearing, right? So that's what I meant. That's what I was kind of leading into. And so, so next chapter, I think we will very quickly realize which of the two was the trigger, because if she leaves the book world, the book space, and Soul Calibur ability turns off, right? And she's back in 2020. We will know that the trigger was all she needed to do in this space was learn that she does actually love Andy to maximize the power of her unluck ability.
You said it way better than me, but that's literally where I was going with my long-winded explanation. It was okay, the catalyst, the reason why she's here is because she needs to reach that level of understanding of her love for Andy, and because she found that out, now she's out of here. She doesn't have to go through his entire life in order to complete this part. She needs to realize that she loves him, and then it's done.
But if she teleports back to 1865, Washington, D.C. on April 15th to witness that first moment of Andy, then it kind of tells me that the point of her going through this exercise, yes, love might be involved, but the point was to see and also to show Andy, who is viewing as an astral projection or whatever, witnessing all this stuff happening. It allows him to see to get a reminder of that first moment of his existence or whatever. So next chapter is going to be huge for to
Man,
answer
I got a lot to say about
so
all
you're
that.
so you're either saying
so
so you just thought of a bunch of new type shit. Okay.
Yeah,
So Nick, so you're either saying the reason why is because she was supposed to realize her feelings for Andy. Now that she's realized her feelings for Andy, she'll go back to present time, or now that she's gotten this date, she is going to go to that date on the timeline inside of this flashback.
They leave, or Fuko leaves this extra dimensional Andy space, goes back to where they were, viewing, outside the book. And then they together maybe go back, or she goes back in a second time. That way it still can be love and they still can go back to 1865, which I do believe, which I do think that's what's going to happen, because I have more for that later.
Sure. I have a lot to say about like this whole what is going on here, right? And my main question about what is going on here is, and we talked a little bit in the special grade chat about this, but like I said last week that I do not think what she is doing right now, what Fuko is doing right now, I do not think that this is time travel, right? Yeah. Like I don't think she's
even though
going
it feels
back.
like it's not.
Yeah.
Right. It feels like time travel, but it's just that she's in the memories of someone, or in this space that's in the past, right? It's like I was talking with my wife earlier, right? And she was like, "Oh, it's like Harry Potter, that basin." You know what I mean? I'm sure y'all watched the movie or whatever, right? Like, and this water basin that Dumbledore has, and he like takes these memories and puts them in the basin, and it allows the wizard to go into this memory and view it like a movie. You couldn't interact with anyone in the memory, but like you get to see what happened. And it's very similar, except that Fuko in this case can interact with people.
So it's more so like X-Men in regard to Jean Grey or another telepath going into the mind of someone, reliving their past events, interacting with them throughout those past events, but it doesn't actually have any effect on the real world because it's not actual time travel. You're just traveling back in time inside of the memory of the person that you want to look into.
And as you've said with Wolverine, the Wolverine references, I feel it's much more likely that this time travel thing is a Jean Grey, like X-Men psychic mutant type time travel, where it's not time travel, right? Like, and we were talking in the special grade chat about like, does it make sense for it not to be time travel? Because Fuko says at the end, like, I'm going to meet you in Shinjuku in 2020. Meet me there, right? Kind of saying that, like, in a sense, it has to be time travel because she's telling Andy to go there, but we don't have to answer it right now. We can have other people talk about it. That does not mean it's necessarily time travel, and I can explain why. But keep going.
I was just saying a quick, easy solution I feel to that is that even though it's not time travel and that Fuko is going to Andy's memories, once she leaves Andy's memories, everything that took place there took place to Andy, and it doesn't have to actually alter fate or
but do you mean
past.
To Andy of the past?
Yes, that Andy does.
That's time travel.
That's
I would say that's time travel too. Then
sure. But what if only in Andy's mind it's time travel, right?
Oh, like sure.
It doesn't actually affect the future in any other way as time traveling would, because you step on a fucking kid's toy, that kid hates fucking grown-ups and turns into a murderer, right? For something not any small thing you do in the past can alter the future. So anything that Fuko's doing isn't going to alter any of these other people's lives in any other way. Exactly. Or in any way other than it only triggers to Andy, but I don't think it triggers to Andy like at that time. I think once she leaves, these memories will come back to Andy or be implanted into Andy like almost like artificial memories, right? Like
the reason why it's still time travel though, even though you explained it that way, is because and I'm not saying that she's actually getting in a time machine and driving through time. The reason why it's time travel is because even if she's jumping into Andy's memories and things are only changing for Andy's memory, she didn't step on a twig, which created a butterfly effect that caused a tsunami in Japan. But she gave this person who historically exists in this time information he didn't have during the actual time stream of this event. So because he has new information and he exists in this time period, he takes that new information and does things differently, which changes time.
But no. Here's what I'm saying is that he didn't know that Andy of 1876 doesn't actually know this. So like once Fuko leaves this space, now Andy has that information, like it happened. Real life.
Real Andy up here in the astral projection.
Yes,
that's where we've been saying
that's
is
the
astral
disconnect.
projection.
That's the disconnect.
That's where we've been saying like astral projection, where like it is not time travel, and Andy between 1876 and 2020 did not know about Fuko at all ever, right?
Yes,
and so
I get it.
Where you can explain this without time travel at all, right? Where Fuko says like, on August 1st, 2020, you are going to be in Shinjuku. I mean, she knows that he will be there because she was there, right? Like she knows literally that it will happen. This is where like, and part of why I'm like, I don't think this is time travel, because time travel is incredibly hard to write. It is incredibly hard to get right when you write it. It's so easy to get in these paradoxes, right? Because if for example, just as the most basic, everyone knows this one, right? But if Fuko did time travel and tell Andy, meet me in Shinjuku, it's already a contradiction, because if it means that like she would have to time travel to make him go there, but she never would have time traveled unless he did go there and make her go through all this stuff and then time travel, right? So like
the paradox
her time
is
traveling
established instantly
makes a paradox where she wouldn't time travel, right? So like it doesn't make any sense, and that's why I'm like, you really, it could be time travel.
Here's how it happened. I have it, boys. This is exactly, and I feel like this is exactly what Kiko was saying too. So, Andy in Wild West, the Wild West Andy that we've seen in the last couple chapters, is that Andy inside of that time frame. That is him. That is not the Andy that is our current Andy. It's still Andy, but the Andy we know is chilling above in an astral projection watching, right? So Fuko goes back in time or into this extra dimensional space where Andy is in this time period, and it's not the present, but it's him. She goes back, interacts with him. That Andy of that time learns things, interacts with Fuko. This is not the same Andy that time says it is, because Andy has gone back and changed that. But when she leaves, that Andy goes back to normal. That time is not affected, but the extra events go up to the astral projection Andy. Then when they go to 1865 in Washington, and Fuko pulls up to that Washington Andy, that Andy knows the things that the astral projection Andy knows.
Oh no! I can't do that. That's time travel.
No.
Keep going.
It's time travel, but the Wild West Andy does not remember the Fuko interaction. That's reset back to the way that it always was. Now that Fuko is gone.
Sure.
So now, but that astral projection Andy has the memories of Fuko's time in the Wild West. So then now, once we transition to the new area, and we have the new Andy that is in Washington, it's not the Andy that remembers the things from the Wild West and is meeting Fuko at that new location. It's still the regular Washington Andy, but because now we're transitioning there with Fuko and astral projection Andy up here, once we enter that new dimensional space and Fuko is now forced to interact with that new Washington Andy that doesn't have the memories of the Wild West, has the memories of the Wild West, but as they actually happened before Fuko showed up, and not, the new, you know what I mean? Okay. My bad.
1865 is before 1876, so there's no way that the Andy in 1865.
Let's say Wild West Andy and Washington Andy. Let's say Wild West Andy and Washington Andy.
But
right?
for the record, Washington Andy is before Wild West Andy.
Before.
So he wouldn't know anything about this Wild West Andy.
Oh, okay, well, still, I mean, that still works with what I'm saying, but I just had the dates mixed up. So I thought that Wild West Andy was over here, and then afterwards it was Washington Andy. No. So Fuko says, meet me in 1865.
No. Fuko says, meet me in 2020.
Oh, meet me in 2020. Yeah. Okay. So then they're going to go from Wild West Andy back further in time. To Washington Andy, which is his first memory. Okay, my bad. I knew that, but I just forgot that in this moment.
And so to say what I think is going to happen when they if they do go to 1865, which I think they will go to 1865,
Yeah, me too.
Fuko will not interact with Andy at all. She's going to watch him from a distance, because we're not going to get this whole, who are you? I don't speak, or you do speak Japanese, or maybe Andy of 1865 doesn't speak Japanese. But anyway, I don't think we're going to go through a whole other, you don't know who I am, but I know who you are kind of thing, right? I think she's going to go back in time to this event and witness the event.
Yeah.
And not interact with Andy, but she's going to understand what happened at this apparently very important memory. Now, of course, like, you could have her interact with Andy and just like wipe under the table the interaction, because we've already seen the interaction of these two people who've never met each other, and then you just say like it happens very similarly to how they met in the Wild West or whatever.
Oh my god, I'm super taken. The backwards time thing totally invalidates like my entire idea of like what I understood of this situation.
As one more point about the time travel thing, I think the only thing to me narratively in this chapter that made me think, I feel it would almost make more sense if it was time travel, is the very end, where Andy of the Wild West, 1876, has this revelation that, like, damn, Fuko's spitting. Like, Fuko, like, now I can imagine all of my fallen comrades as still alive within me, within my memories. And he like feels, he obviously is like very moved by that, right? He feels inspired by that. And I think you could say, like, doesn't it only hit if Andy from that moment it sticks with him Andy until 2020? But I think you can judo move around that by saying,
yes, you can.
Actually, that revelation was meant for present day Andy. Present day Andy didn't fully feel that message until it was said in this memory space. So Andy can still grow from that moment just in the present time. And the reason why he was so fucked up in chapter 1, where he's like, I don't remember jack shit, I'm just fucking crazy, and like I'm just like doing whatever. Like, the reason he was that way is that he hadn't met Fuko, 200 years ago, right?
I don't think that this flashback arc is meant to change anything about the way Andy was before he met Fuko. I think that it's literally just supposed to work as a reference point for the future of Andy's character, which I'm not saying that you disagree with or that you don't know. But I'm just saying as far as like what this Wild West flashback means for the future of their characters is like, okay, yes, Fuko goes back and it's just a reference point. She learns everything that happens with Andy while present Andy watches her learn those things. So regardless of what changes or what things Fuko introduces to past Andy in any of these extra dimensional situations doesn't really matter to those past versions of Andy. But like coming out of this, the Andy that's been watching the whole time is going to have new information that is going to affect the future of his character with. So like, it doesn't,
like, for example, this first memory, like Andy in 2020 chapter 1 did not remember his own name. He didn't remember jack shit. He had to take out the card out of his head to get a little boost of fighting techniques that he's learned over the last 150 years. And then he put the card back to be back to himself or whatever. So I think he, in 2020, before these last couple of chapters, he does not remember this memory. Whatever Fuko is going to encounter in 1865, 2020 Andy does not remember it, but 2020 Andy will remember it, being in this astral projection over the top of this Soul Calibur space and watching it. And then when Fuko leaves, Fuko has grown from falling in love. Fuko has grown from years of hyperbolic time chamber
and Andy has
training.
Grown from learning that information earlier in his life than he originally had it.
Exactly.
So it gives him a boost of extra 150 years of having certain amounts of information back then, but it doesn't affect the actual events of the past. But like, that gives him a boost in the present as if he always had that information back then.
Exactly. And
that's there it is.
Perfect way
there it is.
Not time travel, but kind of time travel, but it's just like it's an alternate dimension where you can learn things from the past and be in the past and interact with the past, but it never actually happened, right? I love
so
it.
It doesn't change history in any kind of way, but your moving forward character from the present onward has information that makes you stronger just because you got it earlier in your life than you originally had. Like, it'd be the same thing as if like we went back in time and gave us our adult information to our 5-year-old or 10-year-old or 15-year-old brain. You know what I mean? Now that we're adults, if we had the information we had right now, back when we were 15, in the present right now, we'd be X amount tighter. You know what I mean? Like, obviously that means that certain things would have had to have happened differently in history. But because we're cutting out that physical time traveling aspect and it's all psychological, it's literally just like muscle memory stat boosts.
An immediate stat boost.
Yeah, an immediate stat boost. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Kiko, what do you any other things you want to add about I've been cutting you off all night.
No. That's perfect. Like, that makes all the sense. Like, that's how I took it. Basically, I mean, I don't need to re-say all that stuff, but yeah, like basically what happened in Wild West, time happens in, it's just, I don't know. It's just not, it's not something that actually is going to be, but I just want to make sure. Well, no, because when we go back here to 1865 here, so I should just really get to what I got to do here. Because
do what you do.
Back to chapter 1. Yeah. The callback from chapter 1 is Andy is a Pinkerton, and Andy has taken a bullet for Abraham Lincoln, and this is Abraham Lincoln's death, and that's in the chapter 1. That's his flashback when he pulls the fucking card out of his head.
Wait a minute!
I need to, one moment.
I'm going back to chapter 1.
Keep going.
Keep going now. Please keep going.
So when he takes the card out, you're saying,
Yes, the permanent bullet scar is the bullet he took for Abraham Lincoln. And so Pinkertons were their own private detective agency that the Union, the American Union, which maybe is a coincidence, maybe it's not, but the American Union.
That's what Nick was saying last week, bro. That was the most mind-blowing shit I ever heard. Was the Union and Confederacy parallel that Nick made last fucking week, bro.
It's like inspirational to kind of like the birth of the Secret Service, is that the Union went through this Pinkerton detective agency or private agency of basically mercenaries, almost is what it feels like back in the 1800s. And so they were like the, they were acting as basically the Secret Service protecting the president. And Andy's dressed like him. And this really hits wild for me because I'm playing Red Dead Redemption again, and the Pinkertons are all over in Red Dead Redemption. So like,
my God, right now.
But that scar, the permanent bullet scar, is from Andy.
So this is in chapter 1. I'm going through chapter 1 right now.
Yes.
Page.
It's lit. Yeah,
40.
I'd have to bring it back up.
That's the flashback panel. Oh my fucking! You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Here is literally a scene of him jumping in front of Abraham Lincoln's
fucking God!
Yes. With the Pinkerton suit on.
All right, we gotta bust this out.
Yeah, there it is.
What the fuck?
So, Lincoln died on April 15th, 1865 in Washington, D.C. But it's weird because Andy took the bullet for him, which isn't historically accurate. And Tozuka just has this messed up because Abraham Lincoln was technically shot on April 14th. He didn't die until April 15th.
Bro, chill out.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think Tozuka
this is
just
too much.
No, but like the events that Foucault sees might be the aftermath.
Yeah. Well, and Andy could have took the bullet. Andy could have took the bullet on the 14th. But see, this bullet seems a lot different than John Wilkes Booth, because John Wilkes Booth shot fucking Abraham Lincoln while he was watching the fucking play in the back of the head.
Bro, are you fucking serious? This is Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. That's the
Chapter
1865.
I'm about to have a fucking heart attack right now, dude.
You know how hard it's been sitting on this through this entire episode? Like, it's been hard to sit on that for this entire episode.
You brought it up at the perfect moment. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we got to what we needed to get to, because like it is important, because that Andy, I think is Andy, but I think it was recently Vincent right before for some reason.
Victor.
Victor. Yeah. And so it was recently Victor before this, and I don't know.
What's the thing?
Was he Victor until he was shot and killed? Until he was something shot. About the event took away his memories.
Yeah, but see, he's
and
got
that's
white
the
hair
exact
when
moment
he
became Andy.
He's got white hair when he
hair.
takes the bullet for
he definitely has
Abraham
white hair in
Lincoln.
that scene where he takes a bullet. But it could be related. Somehow you can make it worked in that like before that moment he was Victor, and after that moment he was Andy, because Andy did say my earliest memory is April 15th, 1865.
So,
bro, I'm like losing.
I think there's a lot to do with like what we were talking about, how this makes sense for it to be time travel and for Andy to get those memories after all this has happened but didn't have them prior, is because I feel like he's doing like a memory wipe when he's not only when he's pulling the card in and out. There's more to it that we don't have information on.
Yeah.
How does he pull the card out and turn into Victor for a tiny bit for fucking chapter 1 and can put it back in, still has the wherewithal to do all that, but then later it's like a full-blown Victor transformation. I think there's X amount of times that he can pull the card out before he has to memory wipe himself. And so I think this is like the first memory wipe of him is he was Andy when he jumped in front of the bullet. But for whatever that did, that was like how he figured out how to memory wipe himself, even though it's like some kind of like latent or like, something that's buried in the back of your brain, right? Like you don't really know that you know it, but you know it, right? Like, and there's just like this instinctive thing that he's doing to wipe himself from Victor's control. And I really want to say, though, because of all the stuff you talked about too, with like they've been fighting the Union since the fucking 1800s, and that the Union has been around and has been doing quests. I feel like the fact that 1876, when Anheuser releases Budweiser, that's exactly 100 years after America becomes a country, right? It's exactly 100 years.
Yep.
So like I just think like America is really like the beginning of Ragnar, like the beginning, like because it's like the first 100 years, and they've been able to stave off so many penalties though so far. And America is the beginning of the loop. When America becomes a country, is the beginning of the loop. Man, it's so hard to like wrap my head around all these thoughts that I have, because it's like coming from so many places.
What if the Union is literally part of the United States government?
Union. Yes. Yes. That's where I'm going. Yes, exactly.
And that even plays even harder into what I was saying last week, that like the Union is the Union of the Civil War, like the North, and under is south of the Union, and it's underneath the Union. On the map. And it's under
the Confederacy.
John Wilkes Booth, historically, when he was assassinating Lincoln, it was because he wanted to revive the cause of the Confederacy. AKA under
Billy.
Yes, exactly. Billy. Yeah. Billy's John Wilkes Booth. That'd be
Billy is.
But see, so okay, Noxie ran off and he can't hear me. John Wilkes Booth used Derringers, not like 357 Colts, right? I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter a lot.
It's guns.
Guns is guns. Guns is guns. But so.
Is Billy John Wilkes Booth? I'm sorry, I had to walk away for a sec.
No, he might be. It's hard to say. For what I said to Nick when you ran off is that John Wilkes Booth killed Lincoln with a Derringer, and that's pistol, like so, and he didn't have like a 357 Colt or whatever the fuck they're using, these big Magnums.
And if it was Billy, how did Billy live this long? Because Andy literally has lived this whole time, right? So like Billy in 2020 probably couldn't have lived earlier than like 1940.
Are negators, once you become a negator, something about like your age stops at that point? I don't know. It's really hard to say, because there's no like evidence.
Is there
for
any
that,
way that
really
we could have gotten Billy earlier than 2020 as a character in a previous loop?
I mean,
previous loops,
previous loop,
right? So I understand that like the flashback that Andy is having right now kind of implies that it was the assassination attempt on Lincoln in this current loop, but does it have to be?
Okay, I have one. I have a crazy theory here. The Ark. Why does Billy know about the Ark? What if we have been assuming our entire review cycle that the Ark brings you from the current loop to the next loop? What if all it does is ensures in every future loop you have memories of your current loop? So Billy used the Ark in like 1865 when he was alive. John Wilkes Booth kills Abraham Lincoln, used the Ark, and he's always had memories in 2020 of him
in 1865.
That doesn't really fit super well because like it's the same loop. This has always been the same loop since Abraham's died. And
right. But that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Does it have to be? Right? Because we know.
Oh, sure.
So we're assuming that in chapter 1, we're assuming in chapter 1 that when Andy pulls the card out and has the flashback of him taking the bullet for Abraham Lincoln, that was this loop. But it doesn't have to be. That's what I was saying. Is that does it have to be? Does that have to be his memories from this loop? I do think it does. Does it?
I do. I think so.
Just because of the memory. Well, just because I feel like.
Because that plays into your memory wipe theory.
Himself.
Yeah, that plays into your memory wipe theory.
That's why
you have to think that it's this.
I think,
but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't actually have to be.
It doesn't. No,
it has to for your theory, but it doesn't actually have to be. For my theory to be right.
Correct.
And
correct.
You're right. I think that we can all agree that the question of why Billy knows about the Ark is unanswered, and this could answer it.
Yeah.
Right. That he's used the Ark in a single previous loop, but not the most recent loop. It's hard to say. Like, there's something here. I think there's something here, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think we're figuring. See, we're getting to the bottom of it. And if we're totally off, no one's closer than us.
It's hard to be. I mean,
come on, man.
Hard to feel like
Kiko,
I've never seen anybody.
This is different, man.
With you finding explicit proof of Abraham Lincoln in chapter 1, it is so obvious.
This is so different.
Obvious.
Even this is different. What we're talking about right now is different, even related to our Undead Unluck theories that we've had.
Yes, this is next level
other shit, bro. Like we've said some crazy shit, but like this is like real. Like, this is actually real.
It's wild how the stars align. It's like because we did like Rogers and Big Stream and whatnot. So I reread it, and then after I reread it, it's like I just kind of want to look at the beginning again. And I was doing that recently. Plus, I'm playing Red Dead Redemption, and it's right in the same time period.
Yes,
and it's like all these things just aligning together for me to like come up with this.
Come on, man.
Honestly, like if all those things don't align that way, I feel like I couldn't have come up with this because it's just wild to like. I don't know, kind of like backtrack through your mindset, your thought process to think about how the fuck did I even get here to begin with?
Because it's other shit, bro.
Yeah.
That bullet scar thing is the scar that doesn't heal. Like
100%.
That's I think there's something to do because it's his heart, because it's his heart and his brain are both like there's something to do with this that is fucking erasing Victor's control of him or Victor's presence.
This is gonna be like a whole evening. We could easily make this into just like diving deeper. But for example, in artifact that negates negator abilities. So Andy is undead. But this gun that John Wilkes Booth used to kill Abraham Lincoln, he was really trying to fucking kill Abraham Lincoln, so it was an anti-negator artifact.
Because Abraham Lincoln was a negator?
Yo. Was he unfair? Was he like, we can't have this slavery shit. That's unfair.
That'd be nice, I mean,
that would be wild.
That'd be crazy.
We need to stop. We need to stop. Listen. Yeah. We're calling the Undead Unluck segment. We can't. Yeah. Like this is too. My heart can't take this.
Well, let's.
It's too much. I'm just kidding. But like, damn, bro.
Unless we have some crazy shit. Let's table the Abraham Lincoln line for now. I mean, I think this can go really crazy.
Dude, this Abraham Lincoln shit is too much.
I want to talk about Fuko and Andy falling in love. I want to talk about Fuko.
We haven't really talked. No, we did. Okay, you want to know what?
Well, no. I would like to say because hey, how refreshing is it to see in a fucking shonen manga you get the fucking two characters that are supposed to fall in love in the middle of the story where it makes plenty of fucking sense to build the fucking story and the plot, and it's not in the fucking epilogue after everything. Oh, Yusuke, you fucking came back from Demon World. Now you get to love Keiko. It's like no. Let's keep this within the story and make this make sense, and also be a plot driving device. Like it's so needed within. If you're gonna make these goddamn love interests into fucking in your shonen manga, make it make sense. Make it happen when it needs to happen, and make it like mean something. Yeah. Like I hate at the end of the fucking story, we all get married and have kids, and then we get to make Boruto after it. Like I hate that. Like
fuck that. What I love about this scene where Fuko, like she says this fucking spit and shit about Yeah, people live in your memories. You know what I mean? Like that's not
this
when
is
people
huge.
So great. And Andy finally smiles, and Fuko's blushing, and she's like, "Oh, you finally smiled." And then Andy like zooms in a little closer. You know what I mean? And they almost kiss, but Fuko says no. Andy is not a creep about it. Andy just stops. You know what I mean?
Chill.
I think that's super awesome. They just fucking chill about it, and just like just this, say, page 16, just like them like really up close, like this, or like when they're about to kiss on page 15, bottom of page 15. Oh my lord! Just like it's
eyes, just mouth, and like, you know what I mean, nose. Like that's
and clean as fuck drawing. Like
Super
a lot of Undead Unluck is a little sketchier, right? Like kind of approaching the Jujutsu Kaisen art style.
Yeah.
But this panel is clean,
crispity crunchy.
Crispity crunchy.
See, man, like, man, bro, like this exchange that Andy and Fuko have before she disappears is probably my favorite line of dialogue in the entire series so far. We've talked about a lot of crazy shit. It's crazy that Undead Unluck has all of this crazy shit that we can theorize with, all of these crazy,
every fucking chapter,
all of these crazy historical references, all of these other references we haven't even found yet. You know what I mean? All of this stuff, it has all this stuff going for it. And for me, my favorite line of dialogue in the entire series is this last couple of pages of Andy and Fuko's characters bonding in this way and coming closer together and really bringing it's Tozuka saying like, yes, I introduced their relationship in the worst way possible. Look at how I fixed it. Look at how I brought that to this. I'm Tozuka. Worship me. And you want to know what? I will, because you're a fucking god, dude. We're at 40-something fucking chapters.
Maybe literally.
Like literally. Like, this is crazy right now, dude.
Let me throw in a great example of what you're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
So page 18, right?
Yeah.
Bottom right panel. Now, given what we've been saying this entire time, like, is what is happening here time travel, or is it an alternate dimension where you can see the past and interact with it, but not influence the future, right?
Yeah.
And I, again, heavily stress that it's the latter. It's not time travel. It's just an alternate dimension of being in the past and not influencing the intermediate time. Fuko says, I'll try to run away from you, but make sure you catch me, right?
Yeah.
If it's time travel, that kind of is a little bit saying, like, I'm going to say no, and you should still be a douchebag and chase me, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not time travel, if it is this alternate dimension, and Fuko knows basically that, like, Andy is listening from above, it's her saying, I forgive you for that day.
Oh my God.
For crossing my boundaries. You know what I mean? Like, I forgive you because I now realize that you are an amazing person and I love you. So I forgive you.
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking great?
Wow. That's very, very good. Yeah, definitely. Makes you feel so good. Like, just thinking about that. I mean, geez, like,
Undead Unluck is the best thing that I'm reading.
Rookie of the Year 2020, not even close.
I want to know what I want to go further than Rookie of the Year 2020. I want to legitimately just say this is my favorite reading experiences that I've had this year. Period.
It's so crazy to say that given this
setting. It's because of this setting. Yeah. It's literally because of this setting.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Undead Unluck is the best thing that I have read this year. Period.
It's so crazy. It's so
even One Piece can't, like, One Piece is One Piece. Jujutsu, like all of these other wildly more
next year is One Piece's year.
Yeah, you want to know what?
Year,
One Piece can be a lot of things year, but you want to know what? As crazy as everything has been right now, and I don't want to say that originality, you know what I mean, can carry you past all of the monumental moments that we've had in manga and Shonen Jump this year. And originality is not the only thing that's carrying Undead Unluck into this position, in my opinion.
Yep.
Every single thing.
Every single box is checked.
And I'm not saying that it checks every box in literary history, but every box that it has is checked multiple times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, this is lightning in a bottle. You know what I mean? This is legitimately like this is something where One Piece, Undead Unluck, Hunter x Hunter, these are things where I am at a point now where I am saying I am so happy that I exist in the time period that this came out in. If One Piece came in the 70s and it was finished and I found out about it in 2005 and read the whole thing, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, One Piece is my shit. Like, I'd be like, I wish I was there when it was ongoing, you know what I'm saying? But at least it's here right now. No, Undead Unluck is something where even if it finished before I found out about it, after I read it, I would be like, dude, I wish more than anything that I was alive during the time that this was weekly. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, this is different comic.
This is very special for us.
Special.
Like,
this is a very different comic book experience that I've ever had in my life, period. East or West doesn't matter. Fiction, period. This is different. It's drastically different than anything I've ever experienced.
I totally agree.
Like, what a time to be alive.
I have goosebumps.
Well, and
for real, dude. Like, what the fuck?
You know how many times Knox has said, yeah, the first chapter was cringy, it was marketed wrong, blah, 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 but I bet there's some hidden gems on that first chapter somewhere that we haven't seen yet. Goddamn, Abraham Lincoln was shot, bro. Abraham Lincoln shot. Andy,
come on, man. Come on, man.
In the first chapter. You've been saying that, like, it feels like you almost say that once a week.
I feel like I do say that. I was like, one day we are going to find something in the first chapter that just further increases the reread value of Undead Unluck to the point where it's like, the first chapter sucked, and we kind of isolate that from the rest of the series. Like, worry about the first chapter, because the first chapter's got shit in it too. It wasn't just a bad idea or editorial decision.
Yeah.
This was always supposed to be this way, and for whatever reason, Tozuka decided to go, we're throwing sexual assault in the first chapter along with all of these other breadcrumbs and foreshadowing. I don't know. Maybe it's because he wants to, like, really piggyback off the theme of deception inside of stories like Hunter x Hunter, where Hunter x Hunter has a very deceiving beginning of its story. You know what I'm saying? To the point where it almost feels like Togashi said, this is a filter for people who are really ready for this story.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? For the people who think this is going to be a generic shonen that nothing special is going to come from, quit by episode 2, because I tricked you. Okay, now for everyone that stayed to episode 3, here's what Hunter x Hunter really is. You know what I mean?
You passed the test.
That feels like what Tozuka might have been trying to do on a way more exaggerated level than Hunter x Hunter, obviously, but it is a deconstruction through and through. This is redefining what deconstruction really means inside of this genre, in my opinion. This isn't just taking established tropes and spinning them backwards. This is taking established tropes, spinning them backwards, reinventing them, rewriting literally everything that we understand about how this genre works, and we're here for it week to week.
So good.
That's crazy.
I feel so lucky to be able to just talk about this every week, because like every week this has been, especially now that Chainsaw Man the past few chapters has been like more action heavy and more like it's like wrapping up and everything. And people are saying like, oh, it's like at Eagle, I was surprised, but Eagle's like, I've not even really liked the last few chapters. Like, well, I disagree with you there, but at the very least, I will say that like in the lull, you could say, of Chainsaw Man, Undead Unluck has been in a huge peak. Just like this has been the most fun conversation to have every week for the past 5 weeks, at least 5 weeks.
For real, bro.
Yeah.
And it's like, as much as I wish that the world could see these conversations, it feels so good knowing that we're having this potent and this quality of a conversation exclusively to people who support us the most. You know what I mean? Like, for the people who want Project Manga and care about us to the point that they want to see us grow in a major way, this conversation and these kind of realizations that we have are for you guys in the moment. Who knows what we'll do with this footage in the future, but like in the moment right now from week to week, this is literally just us, baby. It's just us.
Yeah, just
that
us. And it's
feels
so special.
Really cool. It's special.
It's very special.
Yeah.
It's very special. And it's just like, since we have this other content, right, that are only the highest supporters we have can see, you would say, okay, there's not very many people who watch this, so we could kind of dial it in or cash it in and just show up and say whatever.
Oh yeah, just show up and just have the conversation. That's good enough. No, we're going harder on this segment that I feel like, especially Kiko and Nick. Like, I'm just kind of a guy who's there. I'll say some cool shit, like
I'm
you know
what I'm saying.
Who
does all the shit. And
I'll be here in the background, like doing like my Knox thing. But like, this is really like where I get to like. Not even from like an occupational or like job standpoint where I feel like I have to come in here and talk about something. I'm a viewer. essentially to
Yeah.
you guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I can't wait to hear what Kiko and Nick have to say about this. It's like I'm loading up the episode to like watch for my leisure when I come to this setting, you know what I mean? And talk with you guys about it. So that's all the value I need personally, but
I truly feel, and I've said this many times for you, Kiko, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're like the world. I've said to many people, without no cap, just like I think you are the best Chainsaw Man theorist on the planet.
Period.
And I think and I think we are the best Undead Unluck theorists on the planet.
Yes.
I challenge anyone to match this shit.
I challenge anyone to challenge our Chainsaw Man and Undead Unluck analysis. Period. I will put these two segments up against any other YouTuber, period.
Yeah.
One Piece, we have a lot of fun there, but like we're really late to the game. One Piece
Kaisen, I think we do
Jujutsu
very
Kaisen,
well.
I think we're fine too. My Hero Academia is another one to where like there are some other YouTubers where I could probably like Aniki smash FSP. That's you, bro. You have that.
Yeah.
Undead Unluck and Chainsaw Man, dog. Come on, man. Tell me. Personally, in my DMs, who is doing Undead Unluck and Chainsaw Man better than Project Manga? I will wait.
Bring it on.
I will wait.
Yeah.
Period.
And I don't know. Personally, I think we do all of them the best. But hey, we're looking at okay. One Piece is one thing because it's like we don't have the time. We don't focus hard on One Piece to sit there and talk about this thing happened in chapter fucking 261, and then this thing happened in like like that takes so much
One
combing
Piece
through
exclusivity
a
in your
giant
content
masterpiece
creation.
work. Yeah. That lets you dive into that masterpiece.
You have nothing else to think about.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we can never put ourselves on the fucking One Piece pedestal that some of those One Piece, YouTubers do.
Shout out to Joy Boy. That's my favorite. Techie and Joy Boy. That's my top two.
Yeah, they kill the game, definitely. Yeah, but it's like I feel like we do Hero as good as anybody. And maybe Aniki is great, and he dives in it. And there's a lot of things I could never get my mind into like Aniki does. But it's like from a purely review standpoint, I feel like we're in the same echelon. We try hard on Hero too. We're in the same echelon for sure. We're putting our heart and soul into our Hero analysis too. Like I don't want to feel like any segment, regardless, even Black Clover, and sometimes we don't enjoy it as much. I feel like I still go super hard. As I would.
Even if we don't, even if we aren't wildly confident in our Black Clover information, our passion and our effort to dive as deep as we can with the information that we have, I feel like is different from other Black Clover analysts. You know what I mean? You have Black Clover analysts who are essentially the Rogers base of Black Clover, or they're the JD Legend, or you know what I'm saying, or the whatever One Piece exclusive reviewer or YouTuber there is. They're that for Black Clover. You know what I'm saying? So like we'll never be able to match the raw sheer information and research that they've done in Black Clover. But as far as week-to-week chapters reviews go, for people who don't fine-tooth comb series, I feel like we go way deeper as a collective. You know what I mean? So
we're very serious. I mean, like even Black Clover, which is my least favorite segment that we cover, right? Easily. Like it's easily my least favorite
across both shows.
Across both shows, I personally like Phantom Seer more than Black Clover. I mean, given the chapter difference, right? It's hard to say that
from a conversational standpoint,
it's easy to be excited about.
Conversationally, I very much prefer Phantom Seer over Black Clover.
But regardless of how little you could say I like Black Clover, which is obviously much greater than a lot of manga that I don't read because it's shit, so I don't read it, right? I at least read Black Clover. But at the end of the day, like, we still read, like, I personally read every chapter, including Black Clover, twice. I read it once for enjoyment, and then I go over it with a fine-tooth comb a second whole other time, and sometimes I read it 3 times, you know what I mean? If it seems like there's something, like, deeper here that I'm like, I'm not fully there yet, like, I need to go another time. I'll do it, you know what I mean? Because, like, I feel like we're serious about it, you know what I mean? Like, we're not super fans of Black Clover, and we're not experts of Black Clover
either.
And we're fucking not casual. Don't fucking tell me I'm a casual.
If you ever tell me I'm a casual, bro, even if you don't agree with anything that we say in any of these segments,
man, we were week to week when Mars was coming out, bro.
We
were
not
hyping the anime before it came out. Say for how good Jujutsu Kaisen is, and we're like, Jujutsu Kaisen anime is gonna be fucking
Mappa, so
awesome.
that was free.
That's true.
We took a gamble trying to hype up fucking anything by Pierrot. I'll tell you that shit right now.
Yes, and that was probably a mistake in hindsight because of the animation studio. But I was telling gangbusters of people like Black Clover is really good, and we've. and we've said it before or whatever, but like in personal conversation, but like there's been years, stretches of months at a time where we've said Black Clover's better than Hero.
Yeah.
Right?
There was a time. There was a time, bro.
That's early,
there was a time.
And that's when Horikoshi hits you with a bunch of school time shit or something.
That's like back when we were reading scans
like
too. So like the scans quality really affected our perception and analysis of certain fight scenes. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of reason to say Black Clover was better than My Hero Academia, especially back in like Water Temple, Witch Forest area.
That was really,
you know what I mean?
100 chapter zone, 120 chapter zone, whatever, anywhere.
Yep.
That's crazy, man, to think about. Like, we were really pushing Black Clover over My Hero Academia once upon a time.
That bit me in the ass.
Yeah,
people were like, this is trash, right? I'm man, like, it's not my fault the anime didn't hit. I'm sorry.
People were in my DMs like, you're a fraud. You're supposed to be the anime guy.
Phony.
Yeah, you're the anime guy. Nox is the anime guy, right? Well, what's this Black Clover shit? What's this 7 Deadly Sins season 2 shit? You know what I mean? Or season 3 shit?
That really hit. That really hurt. That really hurt. And like, and that might be why I partially dislike Black Clover more than I should, right? And it's like it bit me.
Dude. Now I got beef with Black Clover because my clout has been affected, and if you affect my clout, your series goes down in quality. Everyone knows that. So okay, are we good? Are we good on Undead Unluck though? Because this was an amazing. We're going into an hour now, and I'm not mad about it. But
it's the finale, baby.
Yeah, it's the finale. It's the finale.
I hope y'all listening love this conversation as much as I'm enjoying having it, because this is peak OG us all in a basement, drinking, smoking, just chilling, shooting the shit.
Yeah,
this is exactly how we would talk, in
real life. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like we've had this conversation, not exactly, but we've had this vibe in real life multiple times. And you want to know what?
Maybe there'd be a couple more moments of just yelling at each other for 10 minutes of like, no, you're a fucking idiot. Like, no, there's no way this is time travel. Are you fucking? Why do you think that dude's shade? That's not shading. That's not shading.
Imagine this conversation not in a professional setting.
It'd be probably a little more funny. But
But I mean,
I'm just yelling Abraham Lincoln at the top of my
Abraham Lincoln.
But it'd be harder to follow. So this is a little better for the.
But
for
man,
the
bro, this segment period is different.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to get my mind blown this much.
Bro, what did I say last week? What did I say last week when you said the Union and Confederacy shit? I was like, this is the tightest thing I've ever heard across all of our Undead Unluck segments. And then a couple weeks before that, with like the Tosaka office like coming through the wormhole into the that was the biggest one then. But like now we're here and this Abraham Lincoln shit, bro, is.
You guys didn't expect that Abraham Lincoln was in the first chapter.
Fam.
Like, that's wild. I don't have no software for it.
It's too much. And you want to know what? We should end the segment because I have to go to the bathroom so bad. I have to pee so bad. Okay.
Yes.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy's an information black box, but let's go.
All right, that was an incredible Undead Unluck conversation. Let us get into Jigokuraku, chapter 120. And I just got to say, this was probably one of my favorite chapters of Jigokuraku ever. I just absolutely love this. We start off with Jika, one of my favorite characters, basically being like, my intuition ability, I can't figure out a way to win. Sorry, we're all fucked here.
Boat. You know what I'm saying?
I'm chill on the boat.
And you want to know what? Before this chapter, it makes so much sense with this chapter. But before this chapter, when Jika stays on the boat, I go, okay, that's just Jika being lazy. This is his character. He's going to stay back and let everyone go. But no, he used his precognitive ability to see that there are no safe routes. So him being lazy isn't him being lazy, so to speak. It's just him realizing that there's no practical route to take and chilling. You know what I mean? I love that. I love
how it's represented on page 1 here, like in this middle panel, where it's just this garble of lines and it's just scribbles or whatever, and he's like, I I can't. I'm sorry. Like
I can't
I'm
make
trying.
a shape out of this that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I'm,
You know
I'm
what I mean?
trying to be like, how do I get from point A to point B? Point B being we win. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You know,
I can't
that's
see
really
past this
powerful to me.
wall of Rien.
And I don't think he's necessarily lying about this. I think this is true that he doesn't see a way like, but I also think that he
maybe could find a way if he fully exerted
Yeah.
himself, but he doesn't
There's
want
more
to
to
fully
it than
exert
this
himself.
because
so therefore-
Jika has hidden, obviously has hidden fucking motivations. He wants to become the Asaimon leader. And that's what's really weird about some of the dialogue towards the end. Like Shugen's like, Sagiri, you gotta survive because like you're the heir to the, Yamada Asaimon. But that's not true because Shion's still alive and Jika's always been alive in the fucking in the boat. So like
I think
just feel
Sagiri,
like
I think what this says is that Sagiri is related by blood to the Yamada.
Yeah, blood relation.
That was okay.
Yeah.
That's a question I'm having because it's just like it's still weird though because
I don't
Jika has
remember
always
this
said
dialogue ever saying that she's blood related to Yamada. Yeah.
And Jika's always said, I just need to get rid of the other Asaimon. I don't have to get rid of Sagiri, like, especially for any like special or individual reason. Like she needs to be, because she wasn't even included in his like original. Oh yeah, she was. It was he went through everybody. Like I need Shion dead. I need Sagiri, but I think he said like preferably I need somebody. I don't remember exactly who it was.
I think is what he said. I think it was like someone who can't. I mean, obviously he can beat everybody here. We can
Shugen.
say
No, it was Shugen. Like preferably, I need Shugen gone.
Yeah,
but he didn't say like I needed Sagiri or Shion or any of these other ones.
Which you
gone,
think
but
that he
maybe
would
because,
if she's like a tried and true blood heir. You think that he would have dialogue that says we should probably get the blood related next up out of here. Yeah.
But especially in this time period, he might be thinking, well, she can marry me. And I could be the heir.
Right? I like Nixie, man. Come on, man. That's why that's why there's three of us.
Yes, exactly. Now another thing I want to say
about
is Jika using his full ability as he's trying to precognitive figure out how to win. I think he is, but I think his precognitive ability only is in reference to his own ability and the situation currently around him, right?
Agreed.
So I think where this all ties in, where like Jika is saying we can't win. But is that true? No, because of Sagiri later, right? Like, so at page 1, Sagiri has not activated yet, and obviously Sagiri is going to activate more next chapter. Yeah. But at page 1, she's not even close to activating. She's in despair over losing Kiyomaru and all this stuff, and just things are shitty, obviously. And so I think that's the point where Jika is starting his precognitive ability from. So he's like, from here, yes, nothing I can do. But I think very soon, like next chapter, looking ahead or whatever, he will see with his precognitive ability, it is okay for me now to enter the battle because now we can win.
Yes. And going into
you mentioned Kiyomaru, man.
Go ahead.
Well, just real quick, because I wasn't here last week, man.
Kiyomaru
getting smashed with the fucking mask and then fucking
Isuzu
fucking. I was like, whoa.
That's
so fucked.
Oh man,
I was like,
that killed me,
man, bro. Like I was like, man, I wish Kiko was here so I could see how he felt about that. I'm glad that you brought that up now because I know that hit, man, and it's like, probably the biggest thing about this chapter to me is not only is this just like Kaku Yuji like really getting, because his character writing is, I feel like, unrivaled on this side of Jump. You know what I mean? Like obviously this is Jump Plus. The only real comparison that we have inside of a Jump Plus, inside of the Jump Plus area of what we review is Kaiju number 8, which obviously in regards to character work can't hold a candle to something with 120 chapters.
Right.
But
needs time.
But I mean, I feel like just in general, and we have a lot of series that we review that have incredible character work. My Hero Academia, literally everything I feel like has amazing characters in it that we review. But Jigokuraku, I feel like, handles the character work in such a way to where it doesn't really care about shonen norms on how to deliver information on character work or how to deliver character work. Because I feel like inside of My Hero Academia, you have new kinds of character writing that like aren't all too common inside of the shonen genre, but that you see over on the seinen side of things a little bit more often, but is really like centralized and like localized in a way that makes sense for the shonen genre. Jigokuraku handles characters in a way that's entirely seinen and doesn't even try to be shonen in any way. You know what I mean? So seeing this like very poetic, you know, approach to character interactions and dialogue, I feel like literally every single bit of internal monologue and just external monologue is just all poetry inside of Jigokuraku. Now, there are obviously character interactions that aren't poetic. Literally, whenever Gantetsu Sai says anything, it's very vulgar, very like Wolverine-esque. You know what I mean? So there's not a whole lot of like deep dive that you can really do on most of Gantetsu Sai's dialogue. So there is very thin writing inside of characters in parts of Kaku Yuji's, you know, story. But for the most part, whenever characters are telling you who they are in the story, it feels like Shakespearean like literature. And I know that that's like going a little bit too crazy, but like it's different, man. And like especially in these like self-reflection, understanding that your weakness is just as important as your strength. You can't, you know, completely write out any doubt that you have, because that doubt can turn into power if you acknowledge it. Those are the themes that I feel like are being expressed inside of Sagiri's character, and by extension Shugen's character, because Shugen is on the opposite side of that ideology. Yes, he acknowledges his weakness. Yes, he knows that he has doubts there, but he kind of represses it so that his like prodigious fighting talent can shine. His weakness, so that his fighting talent can shine through. But when it comes to Tao, it's about more than that. It's deeper than that. It's about balance. Exactly. It's about balance. It's about acknowledging your weaknesses. It's about not running away from doubts that you have, actually confronting the doubts and applying logic and reason to them emotionally in a way that creates balance in your yin and yang, that brings out your full potential as a warrior. And I feel like Shugen is seeing that like in Sagiri. And especially like on page 19, where he's like, what is this sensation? She just came out of her monologue where she's like, yo, your outlook is flawed. This is why everything you're running away from is positive. Check me out. I'm Sagiri. And Shugen's like, what? You know what I mean? And it's just like that one panel of his realization that Sagiri is spitting on page 18 is everything for Shugen's character for me.
Absolutely. I will say that before this chapter, ever since Shugen was introduced, I have really, really, really disliked Shugen as a character.
Agreed.
Not just how his abilities work or everything about him. Everything about him I've disliked. You know what I mean? And this chapter, I'm like, oh, damn. Okay. Now we're getting Shugen growth, and I am here for it because it's awesome.
Yeah, that's, you know, why Kaku Yuji wrote him that way. Really, just to give us this.
Because
the growth hits way harder when you think there's going to be no growth there. When you think you have this super, like, you know, hardcore establishment character that can't be swayed, is perfectly indoctrinated into the shogunate's belief system, and fully represents that in the best way possible. You're like, okay. You're literally just an oppositional force for the growth of the cast that we have come to understand so far. This is the biggest hurdle that the villains or the criminals have to get over as the shining example of the Yamada Asaemon. You're like, okay, that's what Shugen's here for. But no, coming to this island changes you, no matter who you are.
So let me jump in a little bit with Sagiri's monologue, right? Because Sagiri, to me, since the beginning of the series, Jigokuraku, the whole series, I feel like she has been probably the best embodiment of any character of Taoism, of Tao, right? Where like the entire story, she's been like, damn, I'm weak on one sense, but I'm strong in another sense. Or I have to, you know, use my reason, but also my emotion, right? Taoism, yin yang, you know, like balancing of opposites and of just accepting who you are as a person. So go to page 13, and Sagiri is responding to Shugen and saying like, wait a minute. Do those without doubt even exist? And if they do, does that lack translate to strength?
Beautiful line of dialogue.
Yeah. I have come face to face with doubt time and time again. And I just want to go over these panels because they have 3 panels of throwbacks to earlier in the series. So the first panel, this kind of like sexier panel of like a symbolically naked Sagiri of all these headless embodiments of doubt groping her essentially. And earlier in the chapter, page 9, when she is being called out by Shugen for being in doubt and being afraid, and you see out of the shadows in the mist, these headless embodiments of doubt and fear appear, and these are from chapter 2. I was like, when I saw this, I was like, I immediately know, oh yeah, I've seen this before. And like first panel, chapter 2, and the chapter 2 hit was that she learns to not to kill without fear, but instead to acknowledge the weight of the fear
and
that
use
she
that
has
as leverage
and
in her
use it.
sword swing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
The next panel was when she was fighting with Gabimaru against Rokurota. Remember that guy, like
Rokurota,
this baby
the giant
who's been
that killed Aizen.
Yes, and he's like been feasting and hungering and wanting to play, like just this permanent baby who's like a superhuman or whatever. And in that dialogue, this is chapter 15. In that dialogue, she Genji, remember that Asaemon Genji who like was like giving her all this shit, and he's like, you have aspects of man and woman. Like you're weak like a woman, you cry like a woman, but you're badass like a man. Or like she's embracing strength and weakness.
Genji was the assignment that was assigned to Rokurota, wasn't it?
Or was it Aizen?
Aizen, I think Aizen was assigned to Rokurota, and then Rokurota killed him. But I remember there being another assignment on the side while Gabimaru and Sagiri were fighting Rokurota, and he was kind of sitting on the sideline, like seeing, like, you know, like if they were going to beat his champion, is what it felt like. Is that is that this dude was there next time, to Rokurota?
At that time, you had Yuzuriha, you had Genta, you had Genji, Senta. Senta. You had Genji. So you had a group of people around, but like I don't remember exactly who Genji's
because someone was there speaking for Rokurota and his history, what his role is, because Rokurota obviously like had the dialogue of like a 3-year-old, you know what I'm saying? So all he did was say, "I'm hungry," blah blah blah. But you got all of this history of Rokurota from someone else. I want to say it's this Genji character.
I think it was just
narrator. It was just narrator exposition.
Yeah, narrator for our benefit thing.
Okay.
And in this scene, you know, she kills Rokurota.
Yeah.
And she like literally like holds his severed head in her lap.
Yeah.
And she's looking down at him, and he's looking up at her like as the brain is like losing its electrical, you know, signal or whatever, and like and he's like looking at her like a mother, and she's going very hard into like, you not only need logic but also emotion, right? You have to synthesize both. And the bottom panel,
like yin and yang in a certain sense.
Exactly,
So
all
comes
these
back to Taoism.
Yes, man, woman, strength, weakness, fear, and acknowledging the fear and courage, right? Or logic and emotion. And so the bottom panel on page 13 that's the scene where on chapter 80, Sagiri is suggesting to Guifa, we should stop fighting. Like, we should stop fighting. We'll let you do your shit, and you should let us leave the island. And Guifa is like, yeah, go for it. But just for the record, like, even if we let you leave the island, we're still going to kill Japan. So you might want to reconsider. But, like, for the record, you can if you want to, right? And so just this immense, like, showing all the biggest scenes of Sagiri's growth through the entire series. It just hits so hard because Sagiri is one of my favorite characters. And I feel like she really embodies the spirit of this entire series.
Absolutely. You said that so beautifully. And you want to know what? Just going into the last thing you said about her trying to convince Guifa to stop fighting, that is something that we can expect to see, especially from a female character in a shonen series, especially one that's male dominated. You have the female protagonist or the main female character that usually tries to talk sense into the opposition. You know what I mean? And it's cool that we see that explored in Sagiri's character, but that's not like the hard stop to her character arc. It's not like now that she's tried to talk sense into Guifa, that she is now a pacifist and her entire purpose as a character is to stop the conflict. No, she will still fight you and kill you, but she's going to try to talk it out first. And if that doesn't work, is Blades again. That's really fucking cool. All the callbacks that you're mentioning right now are beautiful. I'm so glad that you have like chapter references for this montage of flashbacks to her growth. The biggest one that I noticed, at least on my read through before your explanation here, is actually from 2 pages ago, when we get this scene that says the blade reflects the truth in all things. Your doubt is apparent. after touching upon so much death, you've lost your resolve. This is word for word, verbatim, a panel that we got in like the first 10 chapters of Jigokuraku before Sagiri had successfully beheaded Rokurota, which is her first where it's her first criminal that she's actually beheaded. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she was acknowledged before they came to the island as being a prodigious Dasaimon talent, but she hadn't like crossed that threshold into like perfecting her craft because she was so apprehensive to cut off somebody's head. That was the whole point of her character in the beginning of the series, is that
she was like afraid to kill someone.
Yeah, she was literally perfect in everywhere besides her willingness to actually cut somebody's head off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And her fear, she could cut a dude's head off.
Yeah.
But people would be like Aizen would be like, for the record, you did cut that dude's head off in one blow, but
I think that's what it was.
He died an incredibly painful death.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
because of your doubts.
Yeah, it was related to her skill or her ability to cut the head off, not her actual action to do it. You're right. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. So she had done it, but like she had
done it, but her skill is trash. You know what I mean?
Because
she doesn't have these qualities that she's acquired from her time on the island. But this panel on page 9, with this, aura around her, things reaching for her and her looking very helpless, and the dialogue surrounding her is almost an exact, like, verbatim callback to a specific scene that we got in the Rokurota part of the story in the beginning when they first got to the island before she cuts his head off. The only difference that I can personally remember, I haven't gone back in the series to look. I do know that this is a callback to what I'm talking about right now, but as far as the dialogue goes, I remember it being exactly the same. The blade reflects the truth in all things. Your doubt is apparent. But then the second set of dialogue is different because of the changes that she's made as a character. The original dialogue I remember being like, after touching upon something else, you've lost your something else. Or because of this, you haven't fully realized this. It was something different in that regard. But now she's lacking something because of the things that she's gained that we thought she was lacking originally. So like we got this line of dialogue because she lacked certain things in the beginning of the series. Now we're getting this line of dialogue again because she's still lacking certain things after gaining other things that she thought she needed, which is just crazy character work for Kaku Yuji, because it's like you're calling back, you're introducing new aspects to the character inside of their arc while calling back to the things that established her characterization. And it's just so crazy that we get so much depth for a non-primary main character. You know what I mean? Like this is stuff, like the way that I'm talking about it right now is probably just like convoluted because I don't know how to explain things, but also it's just like complicated because it's complicated. You usually don't see this complex character work inside of characters other than the main character in shonen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's man.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously you guys said a lot of good stuff about this whole situation, but just to add a little bit more to it, I just think it's really beautiful that it's Sagiri, obviously, but like if you think about males, just over history, but even like primarily during this time period, or even just like the last fucking 20 years, is so much like toxic masculinity, right? And like you have these male roles that you are supposed to fucking serve, and this is who you're supposed to be no matter what. So like with Taoism, like you can't find a balance as a male because all you're doing is basically feeding your rage and your just being a fucking
your ego,
your ego, all that. Where that's why it makes so much fucking sense to have Sagiri be the one that this happens to, where she finally like masters balance, and her Tao fucking mastery now goes through the roof, which I assume she's going to use to revive and reverse fucking Gabimaru, which is going to be so great because like it's just like so awesome that her mastery of Tao is what's going to save the main character.
Helps his affinity too. She can heal him
she's
naturally.
Yes, and
she would, so she feeds the fire.
And with her mastery of Tao, it's going to be able to just like throw a synthetic balance level into Gabimaru to like take away the Tau poisoning, whatever, all the fucking plants from him, and because obviously Gabimaru's not out of the story, you know.
Right.
Like,
and we were
there's gotta be
talking
a
about
way
that
we get
last
him
week
back.
about how Kaku Yuji writes characters out of impossible situations and how amazing he's of a job he's done so far inside of the conflicts that we've seen, because there were a couple times where we were like, okay, Gabimaru has essentially almost been cut entirely in half. Remember that fight, like at the beginning of this conflict, of this arc, actually, the very first fight Gabimaru has when they like break into their respective groups and fight specific Tenzin members, Gabimaru goes up against, I can't remember who, but he really gets fucked up in like a way that it like, where I was like, based on what we know so far, I do not know how Gabimaru comes out of this. But then Kaku Yuji writes his growth and his, you know, triumph in that situation in a way that reverts back to the explanation of Tao that we've already had. So that already is like, holy shit, you win, Kaku Yuji, because you took an impossible situation and explained it with the lore that we already have. You didn't introduce new concepts to explain a new phenomenon. You used previous stuff. So like already I was like, fuck yeah. Then when he's fighting Shija, and he's like fucked up on a bed of leaves again, and Sagiri's like all tied up with Shija's hair, and he's like torturing her. I was like, how does Kaku Yuji write Gabimaru and Sagiri out of this situation this time? And then he did it beautifully in the way of Shija accidentally telling Gabimaru that his wife is not a Genjutsu, which reinvigorates a certain emotional response that rebalances his Tao, heals him, and saves the situation. It's like, you can't even call it, like, it's the polar opposite of an ass pull inside of how much explanation that we have and why these characters come out on top in these situations. So I'm like, fuck yeah. Now in this situation, Gabimaru is fully arborified. This is a new peril that our main character has not seen yet. So naturally, I'm like, what are you going to do, Kaku Yuji? I think I understand Tao pretty well. So if there was a way Tao could explain him getting out of this, I think I would know it. You know what I mean? But then Nick and Kiko, you guys explain Sagiri's growth in a way that makes so much sense. And if she does come out of this situation reinvigorated, rejuvenated in a way that Tao, you know, obviously will power her up, she can go to Gabimaru as her healing affinity with this newfound power and bring him out of a fully arborified state, and it's not going to feel weird.
Yep. Exactly. 100%.
That's
I mean,
beautiful.
just the fact it's just this whole, it's really culminating to a very beautiful end, just because of how, like, all these things that we're saying, it just, Sagiri being the one to like master balance, just it's so fucking beautiful just to have it be a woman, and you have the dialogue between her and Shugen, you know, like, our world is a narrow one, but you now usher in a fresh and contrary wind. It's like,
or can I throw in some
the
more?
poetry.
Go ahead.
Like, to the bitter end, I am nebulous and ill-defined, for that is who I am. Ugh!
Come on, man.
Yes!
Come on, man. Kaku Yuji.
Neither intensity nor tranquility. It's so sick. It's so beautiful.
It's so poetic, and it's just so well written, and it's so crazy how Kaku Yuji pushes the boundaries of like what makes sense in conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we heard these people talking to us this way in real life, one, we're going to be like, this is weird because we're in 2020 and this is obviously a period piece. So they speak differently just off of that alone. But I feel like inside of the historical genre, these characters are still speaking a little bit too Shakespearean. You know, I mean, like, as far as like what real conversations could have looked like back then. And obviously that's because this is fiction. You're not going to write a bunch of stuttering. You're not going to write a bunch of actual real things that would happen in conversation. But still, like, even so, the character interactions are so, like, well written and poetic and Shakespearean, like I've been saying, that it like pushes the boundaries of like what makes sense to hear in conversation, but still makes sense enough to where it's like, okay, these people are actually talking. These aren't just robots delivering poetic dialogue. These are actual people interacting, and they're just speaking so well that it just like, it's just mind-blowing, the composition, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
I have another one or whatever on page 16. So basically between pages like 13, when Sagiri is like asking Shugen, like, even if you do away with your doubt, like, does that actually translate to strength? And then page 14 is flashbacks, page 15 is flashbacks, and page 16, we have this scene of Sagiri, just a full page of Sagiri with all these headless embodiments of her doubt and her fear and all these people that she's killed over her life.
Yeah.
And she says, if abandoning such doubt is the way of the samurai, then samurai, I am not. And then the next page, so on page, what is this? 16.
Yeah.
All the people behind her are headless, bleeding, touching her from behind, like grabbing her from behind. And then page 17, I like almost cried when I turned the page. And then you see her from behind, and it's all of her allies, her fallen allies, pushing her from behind, like saying, go. And she says, for I refuse to leave such things behind. It's just...
Because that doubt, the intense emotional weight of that doubt, she turned into emotional leverage to bring her sword down in a way that perfected her craft as a beheader. You know what I mean? All of that uncertainty, anxiety, depression, whatever negative mental ailment she could have possibly had before she mastered being an Asaemon is what fueled her mastery of that craft. And so you can't abandon the energy that brought you to a fully realized state. You just can't.
Yep. And there's so much to be said about what Kakuyuji is doing with like gender and gender roles within this story. All over the place. All over the place. Like from the beginning. I mean, maybe not. Yeah, really from the beginning. Yeah, exactly from the beginning. Because with Sagiri, it's been established right away.
Chapter 2 was like big gender stuff in chapter 2. Yeah.
I feel like Kakuyuji might be like non-binary or like, you know what I'm saying, like gender, you know, like ambiguous in that kind of way, because it's like it's similar to the feeling that I get from like the representation that we have of, you know what I'm saying, like just LGBTQ plus friendly stuff that we have in Jigokuraku obviously can just be equated to like Buddhism and like that religion not caring about ego and, you know what I'm saying, like masculinity and things like that. But also it could just be like, yo, Kakuyuji, the same way that female mangaka write female characters better, the same way colored mangaka write colored character, you know, or whatever colored fiction writers write, you know, you want a black guy writing Black Panther. You want, you know what I mean, like female characters writing, or female mangaka writing female characters. It feels like Kakuyuji might belong to this marginalized group, the way that he's representing this aspect so well, you know what I mean, is what it feels like, is basically
I can see it. It is incredibly well done, and it's just it's so authentic, and so it hits so hard, you know what I mean. When I read this chapter, as I said at the beginning, I think if this is not my favorite Jigokuraku chapter, and it's hard to remember, right? It's been some years, right? And we've had some amazing epic moments and great battles and stuff. But this like bringing Shugen up to like where I'm like, I love Shugen now. I'm like, oh yeah, and like bringing back Sagiri, like when Sagiri has been a little on the sidelines for like, you know, 50 chapters or whatever. And like same chapter, and it just hits and feels so good. It's perfect.
To me, yes, both of those things 100%. But also, I was starting to feel like, sure, obviously you got to trust an author to get us to the end of the story, but it felt like I was just, it was a little shaky. Like I felt like, do we really know like how we're going to finish this? Do we really know like, and like, you don't really want to say that because it's like, okay, let the author write a story, right?
Exactly. Like we were saying earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Like give them the time to you know, like finish their shit. Like exactly. So, but like, you're just feeling like, man, this is really weird. Like, I don't know, like the ending this is really weird. I feel like there's like a lot of loose ends. Like, I feel like there's things that I just aren't really clicking to me. And literally to have one chapter make fucking like 5 major things click to me and just to like totally wrap this up. Like, this is a very good finale chapter of the season. Like, it just really makes me like it really revitalizes my like just how excited I am for the end of the story, which is like, okay, everybody's always going to be a little sad when you get to the end of the story, but the end of the story is always going to be super hype. And it's like, I have so much confidence now, like what's going to happen with the end of the story is going to keep me on the edge of my seat with these last upcoming chapters that we get, however many that there are, because it's just like, for maybe like other than May turning into fucking Mothra, like that shit had me jump out of my chair.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but like other than that, I felt like the last like 10 chapters or so, I'm just like, man, I just don't really know what direction we're going in.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what direction the boats are going in, and like the story and the plot is technically going in.
Yeah.
But like I was just like on the fence. I'm like, do I really like get what's happening exactly, or am I missing out, or do I need to go back? But it wasn't that. It was just like, we need to round off these concepts here, right? And while we hit our home stretch, and it was like, because I was really feeling like, man, Sagiri was like one of my favorite characters in fiction, like last year, and now his last like 100 or not 100, like 30 chapters or so.
You're
I'm
like,
just
wait a minute, what happened to Sagiri?
Sagiri's like, like
but
she's not hitting like she used to.
I ain't forget about Sagiri. This is and it feels so
this
planned.
Was proof of that.
It feels so planned. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as I think the reason why this ending hits so hard is because of how character focused it is. And Jigokuraku has always been very much a character driven story. As wild as of a premise and as wild of an overarching plot as Jigokuraku is, like, name me a like this is top 5 story premises inside of shonen, like, for me.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It's a great premise.
Yeah,
it's
you know what
incredible.
I mean? Like, as crazy as the idea for this story is, it is still so much, very much so, about the characters. And the fact that you can have such an intricate, overarching plot with so much depth, so much research, so much historical research, so much religious research tied into this overarching plot, and to have the character writing shine through above all that, it's like, you're a fucking god, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I almost don't even give a fuck about what happens when they get back to the mainland, because these character arcs are finishing. These character arcs are crazy compared to like the overarching story. Like, I've never seen like better character work with such a dominating overarching plot in the background. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make sense how you can give us such brilliant, not a bad character in the whole shit, bro. Even the ones that were like killed before you knew anything about them came back in ways to where you've cared so much about their character from them just living vicariously through Shugen. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit. That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yuji.
I mean, just to maybe switch gears a little bit. I mean, we're kind of, I feel like, rounding the end of this discussion out here. The only thing I really wanted to bring up too is, like, I just really loved how Rien declares them non-combatants, basically, and turns her back on living people, and just like, y'all are broken, y'all are done. It's like Steph Curry hitting the 3, right? It's like when you feel your jumper
and it's gonna go in,
and you just turn around, you don't even watch it, and you just start walking back on defense because you know you hit the jumper. Like, that's what it felt like for Rien, and it's just like,
except for when you're really, Klay Thompson, and you like turn before the shot goes in. And like, you were supposed to, you're throwing your threes up, but you should have been there getting the rebound. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
But yeah, exactly like that. It's just like, when your jumper's on, you feel the wet water fluidity come out of your shit, and it's just like, that's what fucking Rien felt like. She's wrong.
That's
she was
cool
wrong.
Analogy, Kiko. Like, what the fuck? That's totally what she's doing. She throws the the 3 from the arch. And then turns around before the splash. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. Wow.
So I wanted to bring up before we end Shugen. Like, as I said, like, I've not really liked Shugen before this chapter in this story very much. Like, I thought he was a little overdone or like underdone at the same time.
A little bit of both. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wow. I never even thought about it. Like, that's so true.
Yeah.
Right. But like page 9, where he's like looking at Sagiri, and he says, your doubt is apparent and all this stuff, and he says, like, look at me, Sagiri, and she's like, oh yeah, your body's like healing. He's like, no, I said look at me. These wounds have ended. These wounds would have ended an ordinary man, and yet I only feel a tinge of pain, and I still stand. My very humanity is lost to me now. And he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go fucking wild here, and I'm going all the way, because I'm not gonna let this shit go.
Where my humanity goes, Sagiri, get off the boat and bounce. Before I'm not me anymore. And you want to know what, dude? I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, saying that totally makes me think here, because that's not a line of dialogue that should be shrugged off. She says, yo, you're healing. And he goes, no, I'm
Get outta
tight.
here.
I survived these wounds because of my conviction, my ideology, my blah blah. But no, it's because you drank the water, G.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that is so cool that he is convinced because he doesn't know. He didn't get the explanation from Groot on what Tau is. You know what I mean? And
I do
how
feel like
it works.
he is.
Yeah.
I do feel like he knows he's like he said. He says, "I've lost my humanity."
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
He does know something mystical is happening.
Yeah,
Does he know?
He knows that he should be dead.
Like it was more like, you know, like a Confucius quote or like Yoda speak. You know what I'm saying? Like where he's like, you know, he knows like what he's saying can be tied to him knowing that something extra or super normal is happening, but it could just also just be like, yo, I'm losing my humanity because I don't know what's happening to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if he necessarily has confirmed, linked it to the drink.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's linked it to the drink, but he knows something's up.
Yeah.
And I just think it was like just so badass, where he's just like, look at me, like
one tear coming down because he's thinking about his dead people. Oh my god, bro!
The one tear coming down through his like burned flesh, and and like I shall make my fallen comrades proud by carrying out our duty. And I'm free of all doubt. Like, of course, and Shugen's always, I feel like, always free of doubt. But he's like saying almost simultaneously, like, I have so much doubt. Like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on anymore. I'm not even a human being anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm all in. I am going to obliterate Rien here. You know what I mean?
Like, stays. My conviction stay. I don't know what's happening to me physically. I don't even know if I'm a person anymore. But the things that make me Shugen are still here. And one of that main thing is that I'm going to fucking give my life for this cause right now.
Yeah.
And you said a phrase there, the things that make me Shugen, you know what I mean? Like and like that's where I'm like, the things that made him Shugen before pissed me off and made me be like, oh my god, I don't like this character at all. But the things that make Shugen in this chapter hit so
super
hard. I am like,
hard, bro.
Damn, okay, here's where we're meant to like Shugen, and I'm like, okay, I love Shugen now.
This was well done because of how it was written, how Shugen's been written up to this point, where it was just like, this character doesn't make sense to me.
Where we thought it was lazy writing, but it's Kakuyuji going like, and maybe this could be, you know, it could have started as lazy writing that he just fixed, which would be, I feel like, more impressive. Maybe, but I feel like I like it better that it's like, okay, I'm going to give you this character. It's going to feel awkward. You're supposed to not like him, obviously, but I'm going to make this your favorite character. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine Kakuyuji you know what I'm saying, sitting there at his desk, like, let's see if I could, you know what I'm saying, like, win these motherfuckers over. Yeah. It's got to be so fun being a mangaka, man.
Something else. Something else that's kind of big. So going back to like Kakuyuji's writing of just like gender roles and whatnot, and like how it makes so much fucking sense, and how beautiful it is for Sagiri to be the one to like master balance, and for her to master Tao essentially, and to, you know, hit this next level there. So obviously what she represents, being a female, a Simon, who is, you know, like Shugen says, like, our world's a narrow one, but now you usher in like a fresh and contrary wind. You know who else kind of does that as well? Jika is also very, very on the, you know,
progressive sexuality.
Progressive sexuality. Gender roles aren't a big deal to him. Like, he's just like, hey, do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing my way. It's like Creed, you know, like, hey, a man could have slipped in at any time. There's no way of knowing, you know, like, from The Office. But like, that would make sense for Jika to also be able to master Tao in this way. Like, and Jika having this big giant fucking, he had a huge power spike to fight, you know, the Unit 1 of Ava. Banco. You know, enraged Ava 1 or whatever. But so him having that with what's going on and his like underlying you know, motivations that are going on. I don't know. Like, he's just like such a unique character. I really like the mystique around him, and it does leave the door open for him to be able to do what Sagiri did, just because of his progressive sexuality and other things about his character.
That's a really cool thought, dude.
I do definitely bet that where Sagiri is obviously very in tune with like the contradiction of opposites and being like okay with that contradiction and being okay with your weakness and your strength and using that contradiction to fuel yourself. I do agree with you. I do think Jika is right there. You know what I mean? Like a progressive sexuality. I like men. I like women. I like winning, but I'm not afraid of running from a situation where I'm going to lose. You know what I mean? Like and just being okay with being in that interstice between all these opposites. You know what I mean? Like I totally agree with you. He also has a high Tau potential for sure.
I'm so ready, bro. Yeah. Come on, man.
Yo.
Wild.
This ending is going to be one for the history books.
It's really coming together. It's really making me feel like, because I was in the boat of, man, like the first 60 or so chapters of Jigokuraku. I'm like, this is the tightest shit ever. Like,
I remember when you were doing your read through on Twitter. I saw all of the biggest moments, and I was like, it's coming together.
That was like so good. And then at some point along the way, I'm just like, man, this information feels a little convoluted to me. Like maybe, there's holes here. Maybe I don't understand.
I thought the
maybe
same thing, bro.
Yep.
I was like, it's starting to get weird, man. It was so tight. Now it's starting to fizzle out. Yeah.
And now it's just bringing back like all the love and fucking, like hype I have for like when I was reading just every I could not go, like there's no way I could just like not keep reading Jigokuraku early. It's like I killed like 60 chapters in one sitting almost. It felt like because I was just like
you went
that's
super
like what I needed to get caught up.
Bro.
Yeah. And it was just like, man, this is so hype. And then week to week it starts happening. I got to read week to week
and
it's
got
like
weird.
It did, like I felt like I was missing things, but like I just felt like it was just a time in the story now that all this, it's all culminating back to where it needs to go. Like, I really, really, really have a lot of just hype for it. Like I have big hopes for this ending. Like I feel like 2 weeks ago I'd have been like, man, I don't know what even to expect for this ending.
But now it's like, okay, so the ending is coming from the complete, like the satisfaction in the ending is coming primarily from the completion of character arcs, with the overarching plot themes like being handled like secondarily. You know what I mean? Like, so like we know that we're going to get a satisfying ending inside of the Shogunate. We know we're going to get a satisfying ending inside of Iwagakure. But like first and foremost, it's Gabimaru's character arc coming to fruit, like, the pinnacle. Sagiri, all of that shit. You know what I mean? Like it's all about the character journey rather than like the premise. You know what I mean? Which is just so crazy that Kakuyuji throws at us after establishing such an intense story.
Yeah. Tight, man. This shit is. I'm so excited for the ending of this story. Like I can't say that I just. My excitement level for the end of this story is at least 2 or 3 times greater than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like,
and I'm never excited for the end of stories. You want to know what? I'm gonna come clean to you guys about something. There is a weird guilty like feeling that I have inside of myself because and I feel like Kiko knows where I'm going with this because like we come from that same era of like our manga enthusiasm where me and Kiko were literally like every day like adjusting the filters on manga site searches, trying to find that next big manga that people aren't hip to. You know what I mean? Like we want something new and we want something ongoing. You know what I mean? We want this conversational setting to last forever. You know what I mean? And it doesn't. And when those stories come to an end, me personally, I lose interest in stories. Like whenever someone recommends me something and they're like, yo, you would love this based on what I know about you, bro. And I'm like, bet, how many chapters does it have? They're like 150 and it's done. And I'll be like, it's done? I don't get like a week to week, like, you know what I mean? Like situation for it. You know what I mean? Like, I just like, I don't care. And there are so many manga, and like I'm starting like to get into a mode now where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start going through these completed manga that I've been staying away from because I want that week to week effect. I've been moving away from that, but for the most part, it's like if a manga is finished, I just like don't care as much. Like I'm not as interested. Like you can explain the premise to me, tell me how tight the characters, the combat system, the choreography, and I'll be like, I'm on board, bro. As soon as you tell me it's done, I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? And it's like you just explained a GOAT tier manga to me, and I don't care because it's done. Like I feel so weird about that, but I just love this setting so much that I feel like it has so much to do with how I feel about these stories, like as a whole.
This is something special, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like being able to talk meta every like on a regular basis and like kind of like look ahead.
Yeah.
Like looking ahead is a big thing, you know what I mean? Where like every chapter you can like be like, I don't know what's going to happen, and there's nothing I can do in this moment to see the next chapter, right? Like it's not written yet.
And
so
I want to know that
have
my
to think
theories
about
are
it.
valid because people hear them and go, that's possible. But if I come out with a theory because I don't know the future of the story, but the future of the story is already written, my theory can get shot down instantly. You know what I mean? So like that's
it's very different. It's very different.
Yeah.
There's obviously huge pros for a completed manga that you can literally just binge the entire thing in one sitting and just like you can really like settle in. You know, you're in your chair, you just settle in,
and
you
just
sit down a little bit,
and you don't have to
just
worry.
go. You know what I mean? And there's no worry about is this going to get canceled. You already know that the manga is going to be good. You're already in a mindset of that. What you're going to read is going to be awesome, and that's definitely an amazing feeling, but it is very different from the week to week hype. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
it's
shit,
been an
y'all.
awesome
Do,
week, man. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. I feel like this was a better week conversationally than the season finale of our main show.
I think you might be right on that.
I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's 3 of us here instead of 2.
Yeah.
Snooty and Doncho were incredible guests, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? But like
it was a great conversation,
the
but this hits really hard.
Is different
today.
when it's
They don't have Abraham Lincoln.
And they don't have Abraham.
They don't have Abraham Lincoln.
Oh my god.
Bro, that Abraham Lincoln shit was different. But yeah,
I
man,
can't wait for Snooty. I can't wait for Snooty to hear that.
Dude, Snooty's gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. But yes.
All right.
Yeah, I think
All
we're
right, time to wrap her up.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for this week's special grade podcast. And I think this was the perfect conversation to end our season with. Knox, Kiko, thank you both so much. This was an incredibly fun conversation.
Wow. Yeah,
Thank you. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And thank y'all, the listeners, for listening. And thank y'all so much for subscribing to the Patreon, to this level of content. We greatly appreciate it. And we hope you've enjoyed what we've put out today or whatever.
Love you.
Again, for those who are patrons, please hit us up in the Discord chat with your specially linked Discord accounts, with your Patreon accounts. In that special great chat, we would love to chat with you, obviously, about this episode and everything else about all the manga we cover. Yeah. And we'll see you next time. Wrapping up, I'm your host, Nickums.
Peace, y'all. Let's get go.
Noxie.
Later.